Chapter 4152. Consider yourselves lucky. The white-eyed wolf stared at the two mid-level sovereign weapons and snorted. He then quickly sealed the two remnant souls of the sea gods. On the other side, the 10 avatars had also sealed the remnant souls of the 17 sea gods. They had won the battle high up in the sky. On the island below, many members of the Oceanic tribe were in despair when they saw this scene. Neptune wasn't here. The 19 sea gods were the pillars of the Oceanic tribe. But now, the 19 sea gods had been annihilated. Even the two mid-level sovereign weapons had fled for their lives. Even the sea gods who had mastered the will of the heavenly Tao couldn't stop Qin Feiyang and the others. How could they stop them? If the appearance of the 3,000 avatars and the demon ancestor had made them on the verge of collapse, then the death of the 19 sea gods had undoubtedly made them collapse completely. Don't kill us, please. Many of the younger members of the Oceanic tribe were so frightened that they knelt on the ground and kowtowed to beg for mercy. These young members of the Oceanic tribe were either prodigies who had mastered the ultimate profound meaning or core members of the Oceanic tribe. They had noble statuses and countless people respected them. At the same time, being able to stay on the sea gods' island was also something they could show off. But now, they couldn't wait to leave this damned place. They had never thought that the supreme holy land of the Oceanic tribe would be facing such a disaster. No, Lord Neptune, where are you? Come back and save us. The entire sea gods' island was filled with desperate cries. Qin Feiyang waved his hand and sent the 17 remnant souls of the Oceanic tribe into the ancient castle's cultivation room. He looked at the white-eyed wolf and Long Qin and said, "Come and help." The battle had been going on for so long. The dragon god should have sensed the situation here. He had to capture as many members of the Oceanic tribe as possible. Whoosh! With the addition of Qin Feiyang and the other two avatars, as well as the blazing magic sword and the angel sword, it was an even more devastating scene. Some members of the Oceanic tribe couldn't bear the despair and chose to self-destruct. With Mu Tianyang and Demon Alpha there, they could not self-destruct. That was how scary the eye of despair and evil eye were. The eyes of despair would cause the opponent to fall into the abyss of despair, causing them to lose all courage. The evil eye, on the other hand, controlled the 7 emotions and 6 desires of the opponent. Therefore, these two fighting souls were actually used to control the emotions of living beings. You want to self-destruct? Unless you can get rid of despair and manipulation. But how many living beings in the world could easily escape from it? Even the cold-blooded and merciless devils had despair and desires hidden in their hearts. Furthermore, if it was so easy to get rid of it, could it still be called the strongest fighting soul in the world? Time passed quietly. At this moment, 2/3 of the sea tribe members on the sea gods' island had already been reduced to remnant souls. The broken sea gods' island was dyed red with blood. Looking from afar, it was like an azure hell, a ghastly sight. Boom! Right at this moment, in the sky, suddenly a space-time tunnel appeared. A terrifying aura rushed out of the space-time tunnel. Qin Feiyang and the other two raised their heads, a cold light flashing in their eyes. Because the owner of this aura was none other than the dragon god. "Let's go. Thousand Phoenix Mountain, meet up." Qin Feiyang shouted secretly. There was no greed. The dragon god had descended, they had to leave. Facing such an existence, they had to be decisive, otherwise, they wouldn't be able to leave even if they wanted to. All of a sudden, the 3,000 incarnations opened a space-time tunnel one after another, bringing along their sealed remnant souls, turned around and left without looking back. Qin Feiyang also opened a space-time tunnel, but he stood in front of the tunnel and didn't leave immediately. Swish! High in the sky, the dragon god finally walked out of the space-time tunnel. Looking at the current sea god's island, his expression changed drastically. "Lord Dragon God, thank you for informing us. This junior will definitely repay you generously in the future." Qin Feiyang opened his mouth and smiled. After saying this, he turned around and entered the space-time tunnel with the white-eyed wolf, disappearing without a trace in the blink of an eye. It's Qin Feiyang's voice. The dragon god looked in the direction of the voice and happened to see Qin Feiyang and the other two disappearing figures. Suddenly, a monstrous murderous aura erupted from his body. "Scoundrel!" He actually came to massacre the sea god's island. This was intolerable. However, seeing the dragon god descend, especially after hearing Qin Feiyang's words before leaving, the survivors of the Sea clan gathered together and stared at the dragon god warily. At the same time, their eyes were filled with resentment and hatred. "Why are you staring at me like that?" The dragon god furrowed his brows. "You know very well in your heart." Someone roared. The dragon god raised his eyebrows. Suddenly, he remembered Qin Feiyang's words before leaving. Thank you for informing him? He would definitely repay him generously in the future? What did this mean? Swish! Right then, the king, the divine king, and the supremes of the human race arrived slowly. Looking at the sea god's island in front of them, they couldn't help but feel shocked. This group of little guys really knew how to cause trouble. They had rushed over after receiving the news. Although previously, the 3,000 clones had deliberately prevented the Sea clan from spreading the news, there were too many Sea clan members on the Sea God's island. There would always be someone who would find an opportunity. At first, when the king and the other two heard the news, they were in extreme disbelief. The Sea God's island was the sacred land of the Sea clan. This group of little guys dared to attack the Sea God's island? Unexpectedly, when they came over, it was really so. Of course, their visit this time was just a formality, because if they really came to support, it wouldn't be just the three of them. What's going on? Where are Neptune and the Sea God? The monarch pretended to be surprised. King, divine king, supremes, the rest of the Sea clan members flew to the three of them. Even if the remaining Sea clan members were only 1/3 of the original number, there were at least hundreds of thousands of them. Don't panic, speak slowly. The divine king comforted them. It's all because of him. He tipped off Qin Feiyang and asked Qin Feiyang to come to the Sea God's island to kill us. An old man pointed at the dragon god and roared. What? The king and the other two looked at the dragon god in disbelief and asked, You colluded with Qin Feiyang. What nonsense are you talking about? How could I have colluded with them? The dragon god roared. He looked at the group of Sea clan members and said in a deep voice, Speak clearly, what's going on? Don't put on an act here. The Sea clan members were filled with righteous indignation. Why should I put on an act? The dragon god roared. The old man said in a deep voice, Are you the only one who knows that Lord Neptune went to the Central Dynasty? What? Neptune went to the Central Dynasty? The king and the other two were stunned. Although they had already heard about it from Qin Feiyang, they still had to pretend that they didn't know. Yes, I also heard it from Lord White-Winged Sea God. Lord White-Winged Sea God said that because the dragon god killed Ji Tianfeng, Lord Neptune went to the Central Dynasty out of goodwill, and asked the people of the Central Dynasty to mediate. But we didn't expect that not long after Lord Neptune left, Qin Feiyang led people to kill our Sea God's island. The old man's face was filled with grief. The king and the other two looked at each other and immediately looked at the dragon god. He said angrily, So you colluded with them, and now you're accusing us. You really know how to act. I didn't. If I really colluded with them, if I really told them, why would I rush to the Sea God's island to check the situation? The dragon god roared. Don't pretend. 19 Lord White-Winged Sea Gods were all captured by them. 2/3 of the people on the Sea God's island fell into their hands. What's the point of you rushing over now? The Sea clan members stared at the dragon god with resentment. What? All of your Sea Gods were captured? The king and the other two were aghast. Yes, including Lord White-Winged Sea God. All of our Sea Gods were wiped out. Monarch Deity King Jizun, you must seek justice for us. The group of Sea clan members cried out in grief. Don't worry. We won't stand by and watch this matter. When we return, we will immediately send more people to hunt down Qin Feiyang and his group. No matter what, we will rescue your people. The king said in a deep voice. Thank you, king. The Sea clan members shed tears of gratitude. Dragon god, give me your life. At this time, accompanied by a roar, the two mid-level Dominator divine weapons that escaped came back aggressively and directly attacked the dragon god. How many times do I have to say it? I didn't collude with them. The dragon god roared and kept dodging. However, these were two mid-level Dominator divine weapons after all, and their killing intent was aroused. In just a few moments, The dragon god's body was covered in blood. As long as you know that Neptune went to the central dynasty, who else could it be but you? Moreover, this is what Qin Feiyang said himself. Neptune is running around for your trivial matter, but you are plotting against the Sea clan behind his back. You are worse than an animal. The two mid-level Dominator divine weapons were furious. The dragon god was also angry. His origin force appeared and easily shattered the two divine weapons. He said in a deep voice, "When Neptune comes back, I will explain it to him face to face." After saying that, he turned and left with a gloomy face. "Don't go." The two mid-level Dominator divine weapons roared. The king stopped them and shook his head. "You are not his opponent. Don't go to your deaths." "But are we going to let this matter go?" The two divine weapons said angrily. "Let's wait for Neptune to come back. Calm your people first. We will go back and think of a way to rescue the sea god." After saying that, the king gave the divine king and the human supreme a look. The two understood, opened a space-time tunnel and left. Chapter 4153. Haha Mount Supreme. Inside a large hall. As soon as the three giants appeared, they released a soundproof barrier and laughed heartily. Not only did they cause the sea race to suffer heavy losses, but they also dragged the dragon god down. Now the dragon god won't be able to clear his name, even if he jumps into the Yellow River. The dragon god has indeed fallen into the hands of these brats this time. However, there's a question that I must be puzzled about. What question? Why didn't Qin Feiyang and the others kill the sea gods directly? The divine king was puzzled. The human race supreme said, "The sea gods have split their divine souls. It's not good to kill them, right?" That's right. Killing them is equivalent to letting them go. But if they are imprisoned in the Black Tortoise world, then the divine souls of the sea gods will become meaningless. The king nodded. Yes, for the sea gods that is indeed the case. But what about the rest of the sea race? You also heard that Qin Feiyang kidnapped 2/3 of the sea race on the sea gods island. Think about it, with Qin Feiyang's current strength, if he really wants to slaughter the sea gods island, it's just a matter of minutes. But why did he go through so much trouble? The divine king was puzzled. When the king and the human race supreme heard these words, they couldn't help but be stunned. That's right. If Qin Feiyang and the others went all out, they could completely destroy the entire sea gods island in the shortest time possible, and kill all the sea race on the island. Why did they have to make it so complicated? Shatter the bodies of the sea race one by one and seal their remnant souls? Actually, the three giants were right. If it wasn't for the fact that they had to keep them alive, the current sea gods island would have been reduced to ashes. Destroying it was of course simple. In any case, regardless of whether the other party was dead or alive, they would all be killed without mercy. But if they were left alive, the situation would be different. Because when they attacked, they had to control their strength well. Otherwise, if they were not careful, the other party's soul would be destroyed. The efficiency naturally couldn't compare to the former. Hearing you say that, it is indeed a little strange. The divine king lowered his head. Instead of directly destroying the sea gods island and killing all the members of the sea gods island, they had left all of them alive. What were these little fellows trying to do? What are we doing here pondering about it? Why don't we just ask them directly? The human clan supreme master said. Yes. Send them a message. The divine king nodded and took out a divine sound transmission stone. At this moment, Qin Feiyang's trio and their 3,000 incarnations were gathered at Thousand Phoenix Mountain. There was a huge barrier in front of him. Inside the enchantment, there were all sealed remnant souls. At least 500 to 600,000. How do you feel about this plan? Qin Feiyang turned to look at Long Qin and asked. 2 words, exciting. Long Qin chuckled. Don't worry. If you follow us, there will be many exciting things like this in the future. The white-eyed wolf bared its fangs. Long Qin was quite excited when he heard this. Gradually, he fell in love with this feeling. Wang! At this moment, the divine sound transmission stone rang. Qin Feiyang was slightly stunned. He took out the divine sound transmission stone and checked it. What's wrong? The two of them looked at him suspiciously. Qin Feiyang waved his hand and sent all the sealed remnant souls to the Soul Sealing Valley. The Soul Sealing Valley had been rebuilt. and it was the same as before. Without a certain amount of perseverance, one would not be able to withstand it. Of course, they were sent to the soul-sealing valley not to torture the Sea Clan, but because there were too many remnant souls and the ancient castle could not hold them all. But now, there were also creatures in the West region. It was not good to send them there, so they were sent to the soul-sealing valley. The soul-sealing valley was notorious. Within a radius of tens of thousands of miles, there was not a single creature that would not be affected. Immediately afterward, Qin Feiyang dispersed his 3,000 incarnations and brought the white-eyed wolf and Long Qin to the tea garden in the Devil's Land. Only then did he activate the divine sound transmission stone. 3 figures appeared. So it's them. The white-eyed wolf muttered. You guys are really good at making trouble. The divine king chuckled. So. The white-eyed wolf bared his teeth. The smug look on his face was hard to hide. The divine king rolled his eyes and went straight to the point. He frowned and said, Your plan this time is indeed perfect, but there is one thing I don't understand. Why do you want to leave all of them alive? So this is what you want to ask. Qin Feiyang and the other 2 looked at each other and smiled. What are you guys planning? The king and the human race's supreme being were also suspicious. Can you keep it a secret first? Qin Feiyang laughed. The corners of their mouths twitched. The white-eyed wolf grinned and said, When the time is right, I promise to give you guys a big surprise. Surprise? When I see it, it might turn into shock. The divine king rolled his eyes. Maybe. The white-eyed wolf nodded. When the 3 heard this, their faces were full of helplessness. It seemed that they couldn't get anything out of him. The king asked, Then what's the next step of your plan? Qin Feiyang pondered for a while and said with a smile, I don't have the next step for the time being. I plan to rest for a while. Rest? The 3 of them were stunned. This answer was really a little unexpected. They thought that this group of little guys would take advantage of Neptune's absence to pursue the victory and completely overthrow the Sea Clan. They didn't expect that they would choose to rest at this time. Since we entered the Divine Kingdom, we have been dealing with the 3 major clans. During this time we have been constantly competing with the Beast Clan and the Sea Clan. To be honest, we are a little tired. Qin Feiyang shook his head and smiled. So you also know how to feel tired. The Divine King looked at Qin Feiyang in amusement. I am also a human, okay? Qin Feiyang was speechless. Are you a human? The Divine King asked and shook his head. No, you are a little monster. Qin Feiyang's mouth twitched. Fine. Rest if you want. It is also a good time to adjust your state and deal with the people of the Central Dynasty, the Divine King said. Think so too. Qin Feiyang nodded. The conversation ended. The Divine King pondered for a while and said with a smile, Then we will send more people to search for these little bastards. Yes. After all, we have to make it look good. How about this? We will let those spies take full responsibility. First, it will show our trust in them. Second, it will prevent them from suspecting us. The king smiled. Okay. The Divine King and the human Jizu nodded. Preposterous. Qin Feiyang, Golden Wing Wolf King Long Qin, if I don't kill you, I am not human. Dragon God Mountain. The more the Dragon God thought about it, the angrier he became. He was about to go crazy. First, they used Ji Tianfeng's death to make him the target of public criticism. Now, they schemed against him behind his back and became the target of the Oceanids' resentment. One after another, they did not even give him time to catch his breath. They are obviously trying to kill you. The golden tiger beside him also had a gloomy expression. On one hand, he was angry. On the other hand, he was afraid. He was angry because of Qin Feiyang and the others' vicious plan. He was afraid because Qin Feiyang and the others did not want to give the dragon god a way out. Don't worry. I will not be defeated so easily. Besides, Neptune is a reasonable person. He will believe me. I asked you to check their whereabouts. How is it? The dragon god asked. How? They are like ghosts. They appear in the West Continent, the South Continent, and the Oceanids. The golden tiger smiled bitterly. If these people had a base, it would not be difficult to find them with the power of the beast race. But the problem now was that this group of people were all intruders. He could settle down anywhere he wanted. Moreover, They had nothing to worry about in the divine kingdom. They wanted to find a hostage to threaten them, but there was no chance. It seems that we can only wait for the people of the central dynasty to arrive. Bastard. Let them be proud for a while. The dragon god clenched his fists. Oh. Black Tortoise Realm. Ancient Castle. Qin Feiyong and the other two entered the cultivation room, looked at the 20 sea gods and smiled. You guys are finally reunited. Shouldn't you thank me for giving you this opportunity to reunite? The 20 sea gods were filled with monstrous anger. At the same time, Sky Peng was shocked to the extreme. How long had it been? All the sea gods of the Oceanids had become Qin Feiyong's captives. At this moment, he couldn't help but think in his heart, what kind of existence did they provoke? Kill us if you have the ability. The Bloodwing sea god roared. Kill you? Then it's as you wish. Qin Feiyong chuckled. I don't believe that you can really trap us here for the rest of our lives. When Lord Neptune returns, it will be your doomsday. The Blackwing sea god grinned. Don't worry about this. I will definitely not imprison you for the rest of your lives. After I complete my purpose, I will naturally release you. Qin Feiyong smiled faintly. Purpose? Sky Peng and the group of sea gods were surprised. What purpose did he have to imprison them for? What about the rest of our people? The White-winged sea god said in a deep voice. They are not dead. They are imprisoned somewhere like you. Maybe I will release them in the future. Qin Feiyong smiled. These words made Sky Peng and the group of sea gods even more confused. Not killing them, just imprisoning them? What kind of trick was this person playing? You guys just stay here and rest. Qin Feiyong smiled, then turned around and left the cultivation room with the white-eyed wolf and descended above the soul-sealing valley. There are so many sea tribe members. I wonder how many ultimate mysteries they have? The white-eyed wolf bared his teeth. It may far exceed our expectations. Qin Feiyong smiled. Even if only half of the sea tribe members mastered one ultimate mystery, it would still be 200,000 to 300,000. Taking another step back. Even if only a small half of the sea tribe members mastered ultimate mysteries of the strongest laws, they would still be able to obtain tens of thousands of ultimate mysteries of the strongest laws. And the 6,000 dark guards plus Pei Tianhong, Wang Xiaojia, the 5-clawed golden dragon and the other beasts only needed about 30,000 ultimate mysteries of the strongest laws. Maybe there would still be a lot left by then. The rest could be brought back to the Sky Cloud realm and let the Feather Emperor, the Blood Ancestor, the Little Rabbit, Yunxiang, the Masked Shura and the others merge with them. As expected, his decision to come to the Divine Kingdom was the right one. If he didn't come to the Divine Kingdom, even if Long Chun agreed to help him, he wouldn't be able to find his target. Bitch, why don't we go and find your big brother now? The white-eyed wolf couldn't wait and asked Long Qin. Chapter 4154. What's the hurry? Are you afraid they'll run away? Long Qin rolled his eyes at him. Isn't this to prevent any accidents from happening? Let's talk about it later. The white-eyed wolf leaned close to Long Qin's ear and whispered, the sooner we deprive them of their ultimate meaning, the sooner we confuse them. When the time comes to face the central dynasty, we'll have more confidence. That makes sense. Long Qin nodded and turned to look at Qin Feiyong, asking, I've also contributed a lot, right? Qin Feiyong was taken aback for a moment, then smiled and said, just say what you want to say. I want to fuse all the ultimate meanings. Long Qin secretly said, all the ultimate meanings? Qin Feiyong was taken aback. Yes, I've already mastered 6 ultimate meanings of supreme laws, and there are still several ultimate meanings of supreme laws that I haven't mastered yet. Moreover, I can't abandon the ordinary ultimate meanings of supreme laws. Long Qin transmitted his voice. Yes, this is such a good opportunity. Why don't we take the opportunity to fuse all the ultimate meanings? The white-eyed wolf slapped his head. Whether it was the Sky Cloud realm or the Divine Kingdom, there was no one who had mastered all the ultimate meanings. All the ultimate meanings referred to all the supreme laws and all the ordinary laws. That's true. Qin Feiyong nodded. He still had several supreme laws that he hadn't mastered yet. For example, the Devour Law, the Nothingness Law, and the Law of Light and Darkness. As for the ordinary ultimate meanings, he was still far from mastering them. If he could master all the ultimate meanings, he would truly stand at the pinnacle of cultivation. What do you think? Long Qin asked. Who's with whom now? What's mine is yours. You're welcome. Qin Feiyang laughed. At least you have some conscience. I'll go find Big Brother now. If he doesn't want to come out, I'll drag him here directly. Long Qin turned around and rushed toward the Devil's Land. Qin Feiyang and White-Eyed Wolf looked at each other, their eyes filled with anticipation. The White-Eyed Wolf was bewildered. He pondered for a while and then sent his voice to Shi Yan. Little Qin Zi, if we do that, the others will follow us and fuse all the ultimate powers Upanishads. Should we hold back then? For example? Qin Feiyang asked. Long Chun doesn't need to say anything. Without his help, even if there are so many oceanic species in front of us, we can only watch helplessly. So, if he wants it, we must satisfy him unconditionally. However, if people like Mu Tianyang, Mu Qing, Fiend Ancestor, and Dong Zhengyang also master all the ultimate profoundness, we won't be able to suppress them if they turn against us in the future. I feel that letting them grasp the will of the heavenly Tao is already doing them justice. There's no need to fuse all the ultimate mysteries. White-Eyed Wolf transmitted his voice. You still haven't let down your guard against them. Qin Feiyang snickered. Do you dare to say that you completely trust them now? White-Eyed Wolf asked. Qin Feiyang thought for a while and said to himself, I can't say that I completely trust them, but at least I'm not wary of them now. Anyway, I just feel that we have to guard against some things. White-Eyed Wolf muttered to himself, I understand what you're saying. However, if they see that we've all mastered the ultimate mysteries, but they haven't, they might be displeased. I'm afraid that it'll backfire. Qin Feiyang was worried. That means that they're really White-Eyed Wolf. Think about it. How did they obtain their strongest battle souls? We helped them obtain them. Of course, Dong Zhengyang is a different story. He won the Eye of Destiny with his own abilities and character. But, if you hadn't allowed them to stay in the Black Tortoise world all these years, and if we hadn't protected them, would they have survived until now? I'm afraid that they would have died long ago. We'll talk about it later. Where did the ultimate mysteries that they've fused come from? We gave them those ultimate mysteries. If they still don't know how to be grateful and come to hate us, then I'll be really pissed. I'll strip them of their ultimate mysteries. White-Eyed Wolf snorted coldly. Qin Feiyang nodded his head. White-Eyed Wolf's words made sense. After pondering for a while, Qin Feiyang said to himself, why don't we use this opportunity to test their attitude? What do you mean? White-Eyed Wolf was suspicious. Let's exclude them first and see what their attitude is. If they really hate us because of this, then we won't give them any more resources. However, if they're satisfied and grateful to us, then we'll fulfill their wishes. Qin Feiyang thought to himself. That works too. If that's the case, then it doesn't matter if we fulfill their wishes. White-Eyed Wolf nodded his head. In fact, Qin Feiyang didn't care what he did. However, White-Eyed Wolf was his best brother and most reliable partner. He had to respect White-Eyed Wolf's decision. In other words, this was a big family. He wasn't the only one who had the final say. Everyone had the right to express their opinions. Girl, why are you in such a hurry? Can't you wait for me to come out of seclusion? I think you're becoming more and more like White-Eyed Wolf. This time, accompanied by a complaining voice, Long Qin dragged Long Chun over. Long Chun had a helpless look on her face. Don't talk nonsense. You make it sound like I've led her astray. White-Eyed Wolf glared at her. Long Chun rolled her eyes. Do you think you're a good person? That's right. That's pure nonsense. Who is he and who am I? How can he be compared with me? Long Qin looked at White-Eyed Wolf with a look of disdain. Brother, you have a bad temper. White-Eyed Wolf was annoyed. I gave you some color, and you started a dye factory? Calm down, calm down. Don't forget that she has the angel's sword. Qin Feiyang reminded him secretly. White-Eyed Wolf's face froze. Fine. A good man doesn't fight with a woman. Otherwise it would be too ungentlemanly. In fact, he was afraid of being beaten up. Long Qin pointed at the hundreds of thousands of remnant souls that were trapped and said with a smile, brother, look, the prey has been prepared for you. You just need to move your little hands. It's no trouble. So many. When Long Chun looked over, he was filled with shock. How is it? This is all my credit. Your sister didn't let you down, did she? Long Qin smiled proudly. Shameless. White-Eyed Wolf muttered. Long Qin raised her eyebrows and immediately stared fiercely at White-Eyed Wolf, as if saying, if you dare to talk nonsense again, I'll cut you. Long Chun looked quite surprised when he saw White-Eyed Wolf in Long Qin. This unruly and lawless wolf cub was actually so afraid of his younger sister? It seemed that even if he was not here, the person who would suffer would not be Xiao Qin. Of course it would not be Long Qin. It had always been White-Eyed Wolf who was at a disadvantage. Over the years, White-Eyed Wolf had been beaten up by Long Qin many times. The key was, White-Eyed Wolf could only wait to be beaten up. Qin Feiyong looked at Long Chun and said with a smile, if you really don't want to now, then we'll talk about it after you come out of seclusion. Don't. I've brought her here. Aren't you deliberately undermining me by saying this now? Long Qin looked at Qin Feiyong with dissatisfaction. I say Qin, when did you become so like-minded with them? Long Chun turned to look at Long Qin. This younger sister of his had changed so much that she was no ordinary person. No way. I'm definitely still on your side. Long Qin giggled. Long Chun shook his head speechlessly. He looked at the remnant souls and said with a wry smile, this is a lot of work, 560,000 members of the Sea clan. Just thinking about it was terrifying. So you have to work hard. Long Qin waved her small fist and said encouragingly, silly girl. Long Chun knocked on her head and nodded, okay. I'll work hard. Thank you, brother. Hearing this, Long Qin left and hugged Long Chen's arm coquettishly. Long Chun rubbed her head lovingly. He looked at Qin Feiyong and said, however, to strip their laws, we still need them to reconstruct their bodies. So, you have to ask the mermaid princess to come as well. Okay. Qin Feiyong nodded. With a thought, the mermaid princess immediately appeared beside him. What's wrong? The mermaid princess had been in seclusion to comprehend the laws. Now that Qin Feiyong suddenly brought her here, she was a little stunned. Help them reconstruct their bodies. But don't repair their sea of qi. Qin Feiyong smiled. And don't repair their divine souls. It's fine as long as they have consciousness. Long Chun also reminded. The people here were basically all paragon sovereigns. If their divine souls were completely repaired, it would be very troublesome to control them. This was because even if he used the soul control technique, if the other party's divine soul was not damaged, the other party's resistance might cause him to suffer a backlash. Okay. The mermaid princess nodded. The Eye of Life opened. Endless life energy surged toward the barrier. A shocking scene immediately appeared. The hundreds of thousands of Sea tribe members who were left with only remnant souls were reconstructing their bodies at a speed visible to the naked eye. One had to know. For creatures of this level, even with the time array, it would take hundreds of years to repair their bodies. But now, with the help of the Eye of Life, in just a few blinks of an eye, their bodies were completely reconstructed. As expected, none of the strongest battle souls were undeserved. As their bodies were reconstructed and their remnant souls were slightly repaired, the hundreds of thousands of Sea tribe members gradually regained consciousness. When they saw the unfamiliar surroundings, they immediately panicked. What was this place? The underworld? Soon, when they saw Qin Feiyong and the others outside the barrier, their faces were immediately filled with fear. The scene that happened on the Sea God's Island immediately appeared in their minds. In other words, they were not dead. However, they were not happy at all. Because, although they were not dead, falling into the hands of this group of demons was probably more painful than death. Don't be nervous. We won't hurt you. The white-eyed wolf bared his teeth. The hundreds of thousands of Sea tribe members were frightened. The way he bared his teeth was a little creepy no matter how they looked at it. Don't struggle. If you struggle, you will all die. Long Qin stared at the group of people and said coldly. Then, he looked at Long Chun and urged, brother, hurry up. Qin Feiyong and the white-eyed wolf looked at each other. Their hearts were filled with anticipation. How many ultimate laws would these hundreds of thousands of Sea tribe members have? They were even a little nervous in their hearts. Chapter 4155. Long Chun couldn't help but laugh. All of them were more impatient than anyone else. However, hundreds of thousands of oceanic species were indeed worth looking forward to. He placed his hands in front of his chest and began to form seals. What are you trying to do? A group of young men and women in their 20s stared at them in horror. You'll know soon enough. White-eyed wolf grinned. Before he finished speaking, Long Chan waved his hand and blood-red seals appeared one after another. Feeling the strange aura emitted by the blood-red seals, hundreds of thousands of oceanic species couldn't help but feel a sense of fear. Lord Neptune won't let you go. Someone roared. From their expressions, it was obvious that it wasn't something good. Neptune, you don't have to worry about that. Long Chan sneered. Even at this point, they still wanted to threaten them. He had never seen such a naive person. At the same time, Long Chen's eyes flashed and 100 blood-red seals flew into the barrier and disappeared into the heads of the 100 people. Can only control 100 people at a time? White-eyed wolf frowned. Yes, the soul-controlling technique is different from other control techniques. It consumes a large amount of mental energy. Long Chen nodded. No wonder you said it's a big project. White-eyed wolf suddenly understood. He could only control 100 oceanic species at a time. There were a total of 5 to 600,000 here. In this way, he would need 5 to 6,000 times to control all of them. 5 to 6,000 times, how long would that take? Fortunately, the Black Tortoise world had a time array. Even if it took a few years or decades, it would only be a short while outside. As the soul-controlling technique was successfully completed, the 100 oceanic species immediately became obedient and respectfully knelt in the void. They looked at Long Chen and said, "Greetings, Master." When the other oceanic species saw this scene, their eyes were filled with shock, so they were being controlled. Let them come out. Long Chen looked at Qin Feiyong and smiled. All right. Qin Feiyong nodded. With a wave of his hand, the 100 people under his control immediately appeared outside the barrier. Long Chen looked at the 100 members of the oceanic tribes and ordered, "Extract your ultimate Upanishads." Yes, the 100 people nodded respectfully. Among them, most of them were middle-aged, a small portion of them were elderly, and a small portion of them were young. Once Long Chen's words came out, they did not hesitate at all and immediately began to strip off their respective laws. However, the members of the oceanic tribe inside the spirit formation were horrified when they saw this. So the purpose of controlling them was to strip them of their ultimate meaning? How could such a thing happen? One had to know. For existences at their level, ordinary control-type secret techniques could control their lives, but they could not control their thoughts. However, at this moment, the 100 people who were being controlled did not hesitate at all when they heard Long Chen's words. There were no signs of struggle at all. Just like a puppet, they obeyed his every command. It was hard to imagine. What kind of control-type secret technique was this? I'd rather die than lose the ultimate Upanishad and hand it over to them. Someone roared. It was hysterical. As soon as these words came out, almost all the members of the oceanic tribe had the thought of destroying their own divine soul. This undoubtedly showed the importance of the soul control technique. Without the soul control technique, these members of the oceanic tribe would not be willing to hand over their ultimate meaning. Not to mention these members of the oceanic tribe, any living being in the world would not be willing to strip off their ultimate meaning and give it to others. Therefore, without Long Chen's help, it would be meaningless no matter how many living beings Qin Feiyong and the others captured. However, want to destroy their own divine soul? Was it possible? This idea was a little naive. It was not difficult to capture them. Would Qin Feiyong and the others give them the chance to destroy their own divine soul? The white-eyed wolf and Long Qin immediately entered the spirit formation. Their aura rolled out and directly suppressed hundreds of thousands of members of the oceanic tribe. At this moment, regardless of whether they were men or women, their eyes were filled with despair. They were like lambs pressed on the chopping board, unable to do anything but wait for the butcher's knife to fall. A moment passed. Finally, 100 members of the oceanic tribe stripped off their ultimate meaning. Qin Feiyong and the others looked up and their eyes were filled with surprise. The first batch of 100 oceanic clansmen had a total of 106 ultimate profundities of ultimate laws. On average, Everyone had an ultimate meaning of the ultimate meaning. As for ordinary ultimate meaning, there were undoubtedly more. More than 300. There were all kinds of ultimate meaning. 100 members of the Oceanic tribe, and we obtained more than 400 ultimate meanings? How much will we get when we strip them all? They could not help but feel excited just thinking about it. It is indeed a little beyond imagination. Long Chun was also deeply shocked. The sea god's island was indeed worthy of being the sacred land of the Oceanic tribe. Immediately, he did not stop and began to control the next batch of members of the Oceanic tribe. The white-eyed wolf looked at Qin Feiyong and urged, Xiao Shui, Li Zhongxing, Old Poison, they are all experienced in this area. Quickly call them over and help count. Okay. Qin Feiyong nodded. With a thought, Xiao Shui and the other two appeared beside him. Seeing the ultimate meaning floating in the air, the three were dumbfounded. Don't just stand there. Quickly count. The white-eyed wolf said. Okay. The three nodded. They were indeed experienced. Xiao Shui waved her hand and a desk appeared. She immediately sat beside the desk and took out a brand new account book. The ultimate meaning of the spacetime law, the ultimate meaning of the sword law, the Old Poison and Li Zhongxing were counting and shouting at the same time. Xiao Shui quickly recorded it in the book. Because when they traded with the undead in the Sky Bell Divine Treasure, they were the ones who counted, categorized, and recorded it. All of a sudden, it was bustling here. Young master. The Old Poison counted and looked at Qin Feiyong with a flattering smile on his old face. You don't have to say anything. I understand. After it is over, you can choose whatever you want. As long as it can be used and not wasted, it is fine. Qin Feiyong waved his hand and smiled. Thank you, young master. The Old Poison was overjoyed. Li Zhongxing and Xiao Shui were also full of joy. This was a great opportunity. It was something that others didn't even dare to dream of. Following this young master, their future was indeed limitless. Very soon, the incident in Soul Sealing Valley alarmed everyone in the Devil's Land. Everyone ran over. Even Mu Qing and the others who were in seclusion couldn't resist the impulse in their hearts. Without exception, when they arrived at the Soul Sealing Valley and saw the ultimate mysteries, they were all excited. Qin Feiyong looked at Mu Qing, Mu Tianyang, and the demon ancestor. His eyes flickered. In fact, the demon ancestor was trustworthy now. Mu Qing's attitude had also been clear. Mu Tianyang was the only exception. Although it was Mu Qing's decision to scheme against Dong Zhengyang last time, and Mu Tianyang had also criticized Mu Qing, Mu Tianyang had never made a very clear statement and let go of the grudges in his heart. Moreover, with Qin Feiyong's understanding of Mu Tianyang, this person wouldn't let go so easily. Therefore, he couldn't judge what Mu Tianyang would do in the future. Mu Tianyang was the owner of the evil eye. If he really plotted against everyone behind their backs, no one dared to imagine the consequences. To be safe, it was better to test it out first. Of course, if Mu Tianyang chose to fall out with him after the battle with the Divine Kingdom, it didn't matter. He was worried that if Mu Tianyang stabbed him in the back at the critical moment of the battle with the Divine Kingdom, then he wouldn't even have a place to cry. The white-eyed wolf's eyes flashed. He looked at Qin Feiyong and asked, Little Qin Zi, how do you plan to arrange these ultimate mysteries? Qin Feiyong was stunned. Wasn't he asking the obvious? The white-eyed wolf quietly winked at Qin Feiyong. Qin Feiyong understood. It turned out that the white-eyed wolf was going to test Mu Tianyang and the other two. After understanding, Qin Feiyong was also very cooperative. He lowered his head and pretended to think for a moment. Then he said with a smile, let everyone merge with the 6,000 secret guards first and see if there are any left in the end. We also have a share? The 6,000 secret guards were stunned. Of course. Qin Feiyong nodded and said with a smile, this is prepared for you. And all of you must master the will of heaven. The 6,000 secret guards looked at each other. This was specially prepared for them? In the past, they were just the secret guards of the Blood Hall. Although the secret guards of the Blood Hall used to be feared in the Western continent, they were nothing in front of Qin Feiyong. To be honest, they never thought that Qin Feiyong would prepare ultimate mysteries for them, because in their opinion they were not qualified. But they never thought that Qin Feiyong not only did not forget them, but also prepared to let them merge with the ultimate mysteries of the 6 strongest laws and master the will of heaven. The will of heaven? They couldn't help but be excited at the thought of it. Am I dreaming? Hit me and see if it hurts. A secret guard grabbed a good friend next to him and said, "Smack." His good friend immediately slapped him. "You really hit me?" The secret guard's face darkened. "Does it hurt?" his good friend asked. The other secret guards also stared at him. "Yes." The secret guard nodded. "Then it's not a dream. Thank you, young master. In the future, we will definitely do our best for young master, until our last breath." The 6,000 secret guards came back to their senses and immediately knelt in the void and shouted, "You should really work hard for young master." Thinking about the past, whether it was when you went to Sky Cloud Island to cultivate or later on, young master never forgot you. Wang Chongyuan said with a smile. "That's right. Young master has long left us, we can't let young master down." The other secret guard commanders also said one after another. "Yes." The 6,000 secret guards nodded heavily. "Don't make it sound so serious. We are a big family, sharing honor and disgrace. If I don't take care of you, should I take care of outsiders?" Qin Feiyang shook his head and smiled. "Big family, sharing honor and disgrace," the 6,000 secret guards murmured. It turned out that in the eyes of the young master, they were not subordinates but family. They were very touched. Where could they find such a good young master? If they still had any thoughts of betrayal, it would be really intolerable. Chapter 4156. Qin Feiyang looked at the others. For example, the big black wolf, the 5-clawed golden dragon, Wang Xiaojie, Qin Shan, Long Tianyu, and Xia Yuan, the former general under his ancestor. Not only the dark guards, but all of you must also master the will of the heavenly Tao in the future. Qin Feiyang smiled. "Master, you're so nice. You're simply my idol." Wang Xiaojie immediately hugged Qin Feiyang's arm excitedly and grinned. "You're so talkative." Qin Feiyang shook his head and scolded with a smile. The mermaid emperor laughed hoarsely and said, "Old men like us don't need it. Look at what you're saying. I can forget everyone else, but I can't forget you old men." Qin Feiyang looked at the mermaid emperor, the black-winged emperor, the white-winged emperor, and the sword emperor. "Isn't that a waste? I'll say it again. If you really think we're bored, hurry up and make a few babies. This is better than giving us more ultimate mysteries." The black-winged emperor laughed. The corner of Qin Feiyang's mouth twitched as he looked at the mermaid princess. The mermaid princess lowered her head and blushed. "We're already an old couple. Why are you still embarrassed? It seems that you two really don't have much affection for each other." The white-winged emperor shook his head. The black-winged emperor moved closer to Qin Feiyang and whispered, "Brat, do you want me to teach you a few moves? I guarantee that your life as a couple will be more perfect and happy." Hearing this, even Qin Feiyang's face couldn't help but turn red. He smiled bitterly and said, "Old ancestor, can you not make fun of us? You're taking my kindness for granted." The black-winged emperor was dissatisfied. "It's not like that. Isn't their still senior brother crazy and the white-eyed wolf? Look at them. They haven't gotten married yet. If you really have nothing to do, you can help them plan first." Qin Feiyang hurriedly shifted the cannon fire. Hearing this, frenzy white-eyed wolf fire dance, and Zhuo Shaoxian immediately glared at Qin Feiyang. Qin Feiyang smiled embarrassedly and said, "Back to the topic. After everyone has fused with the ultimate profound and grasped the will of the great path, if there are any remaining ultimate profound, I plan to let a few people grasp all of them." All ultimate profound meanings? Everyone was stunned. That's right. Regardless of whether it's an ultimate law or an ordinary law, as long as it's a law, I'll be able to grasp it. Qin Feiyang nodded. All laws, everyone murmured. Their eyes were filled with yearning. To tell the truth, no one could remain indifferent to this kind of thing. The ultimate profundities of all laws. Once he succeeded, he would become a true pinnacle existence. Mu Qing asked, "Do you have a list of names in your mind now?" "There is a preliminary list. Long Chan, Long Qin. Needless to say, this is what they deserve. The others are me, White-Eyed Wolf, Senior Brother Frenzy, Li Feng." And as Qin Feiyang spoke, he scanned the people around him. "Master, there's me, Wang Xiaojie patted his chest, as if he was afraid that he would be forgotten by Qin Feiyang. You? Forget it. I'm still worried that when you become stronger in the future, you'll deceive your master and destroy your ancestors. Qin Feiyang said. Deceive my master and destroy my ancestors? Wang Xiaojie's expression stiffened, and he immediately said with dissatisfaction, Am I that kind of person? Master, if you say that, then I'll be really sad. Go away. Qin Feiyang glared at him and said with a smile, There's also Pei Tianhong and Wang Changyuan. Because they have followed me for many years, this is what they deserve. Of course, there's also my wife. Qin Feiyang looked at the mermaid princess and sighed. All these years I owe her too much. I hope to do everything possible to make it up to her, although I don't know if she will care about this. Hearing this, everyone nodded. Although on the surface, the mermaid princess didn't do anything earth-shattering, one had to know that a man who could make a living in peace outside was inseparable from the woman behind him. At the very least, no matter what Qin Feiyang did all these years, the mermaid princess didn't interfere and chose to silently support him. Even if Qin Feiyang didn't want to have children, she never complained. Just imagine. After marriage, which woman didn't want a crystallization of love? So this attitude of the mermaid princess was the greatest support for Qin Feiyang. Of course. And Fire Lotus, Pai Lupi, Theta Wang. Qin Feiyang looked at the three of Fire Lotus and smiled. Although all these years, you didn't help us kill our enemies outside. But you helped me the most. You helped to manage the Black Tortoise world and did your best, allowing me to have no worries. It can be said that you are my backing. Don't say that, it's what we should do. If it wasn't for your appreciation, your trust, we would probably still be a small pawn of the City Lord's mansion. We might even have died. Pai Lupi and Theta Wang hurriedly said. Wang Changyuan smiled and said, This principle is telling us that no matter how small a person is, as long as he meets a talent scout, he can become a good steed. What kind of good steed are we? It's pure luck. The two laughed dryly. Mu Qing looked at Pai Lupi and Theta Wang, then looked at Qin Feiyang and said, Are these the people on your list? Yes. Qin Feiyang nodded. Think carefully, did you forget anything? Mu Qing asked, unwilling to give up. No. Qin Feiyang thought for a while and shook his head. All right. Mu Qing nodded with a trace of disappointment in her eyes. Mu Tianyang and the demon ancestor looked at each other. The demon ancestor appeared to be very indifferent, but Mu Tianyang's eyes also had a trace of disappointment. There's nothing to see, go back and continue your seclusion. Mu Tianyang patted Mu Qing's shoulder. Okay. Mu Qing nodded. The two smiled at Qin Feiyang, then turned and left. The demon ancestor saw everything. He looked at Qin Feiyang and smiled. Then I'll return to the Devil's Land first. Okay. Qin Feiyang nodded. The demon ancestor nodded to the others, then turned and chased after Mu Qing and Theta Wang. Looking at the backs of the three leaving, Qin Feiyang and the white-eyed wolf looked at each other. Qin Feiyang immediately released his perception, secretly spying on the three. In the sky above a mountain, the demon ancestor caught up, looked at Mu Qing and Mu Tianyang, and said with a smile, What's wrong? You don't seem to be in a good mood? It's all right. Mu Qing waved her hand. Is it because of what happened before? The demon ancestor asked with a smile. Mu Tianyang glanced at the demon ancestor, shook his head and said, Nothing can escape your eyes. My eyes are fiery, okay? The demon ancestor smiled helplessly. Actually, I don't feel uncomfortable. These ultimate mysteries were obtained by Qin Feiyang and the others. How they arrange it is their business. We have no right to interfere. But I just feel that even people like Pai Lupi and Theta Wang can obtain all the ultimate mysteries. Why can't we? We all have the strongest fighting souls. Whether it's strength or potential, we are stronger than them. Mu Tianyang pursed his lips. You still say you don't feel uncomfortable. I think you just feel unbalanced. Yes, you're right. In terms of strength and potential, Pai Lupi and the others can't compare to us. Even people like Li Feng, Fire Lotus, and Pei Tianhong are miles away from us. But you have to understand one thing. How much have they sacrificed for Qin Feiyang? Let's put it this way. If you were the ruler of the Black Tortoise world with people like Pai Lupi and Theta Wang helping you wholeheartedly, what would you do? The demon ancestor asked. Me? Mu Tianyang was slightly taken aback. After pondering for a while, he said, I would definitely give them the best. That's right. Contribution isn't something that can only be shown on the battlefield. No matter who it is, no matter what it is, the contribution that is made behind the scenes is the most worthy of respect. The demon ancestor smiled. Then, don't you feel uncomfortable at all? Mu Tianyang asked. No. Thinking back to the past, the harm that I caused to Qin Feiyang and the Great Qin, I have always felt guilty. To be honest, to be able to obtain the 6 ultimate mysteries and merge with the will of heaven, I am already very satisfied. The demon ancestor smiled. Mu Tianyang looked at the demon ancestor in a daze. He shook his head and sighed, You've really changed. You've changed so much that I don't even recognize you anymore. From the moment I was reborn, I had already changed. The demon ancestor said. Yes. Back then, if not for Qin Yuan's help to revive us through the gate of rebirth, we would have already reincarnated. How could we have the chance to live such a wonderful life now? Mu Qing nodded. Mu Tianyang looked at Mu Qing in surprise. Even this brat had changed? Actually, there's nothing that you can't figure out. We all know what's bothering you. Between you and Qin Feiyang, it's because of the fall of the Mu family and Shun Mei's death. But have you ever thought about how much damage you caused to the Great Qin in the past? This is all karma. An eye for an eye. As for the grudge between you and Qin Badian, there's a saying that every grievance has its perpetrator and every debt has its debtor. You have to go to Qin Badian and not Qin Feiyang, right? The demon ancestor said with a smile. I agree too. If revenge breeds revenge, will there ever be an end to it? I didn't know in the past, but now I'm suddenly enlightened. The past will only become shackles that bind me. I won't hide it from you. Now that I've let go of everything, I feel much more relaxed. Mu Qing smiled. When Mu Tianyang heard this, he fell silent. After a long while, he looked up at the sky, nodded and sighed, You're right. There's no need to dwell on the past. Living in the present, living happily and freely is the greatest respect for life. The demon ancestor and Mu Qing looked at each other, and a trace of a smile appeared in their eyes. They had finally seen through it. However, Mu Tianyang changed the topic and snorted coldly. This Qin Batian, I treated him as a brother, but he destroyed my Tianyang empire and made me the ruler of a fallen country. I have to bear this shame. If there's a chance in the future, I'll definitely fight him. Otherwise, I won't be able to vent the hatred in my heart. Haha. The demon ancestor laughed and hugged Mu Tianyang's shoulder. He teased, Who told you to be a tyrant in the past? If you really say that, then wouldn't Lu Zhongyang and I have to fight with you? After all, we didn't like what you did back then. Sure. Then from now on, you guys can come at me together. Do you think I'm afraid of you? Mu Tianyang raised his head with a proud and unyielding attitude. Chapter 4157. Soul-Sealing Valley. Qin Feiyang finally retracted his perception and a smile appeared on his face. How is it? White-Eyed Wolf asked secretly. Look at the smile on my face, it's obvious. Qin Feiyang transmitted his voice. In that case, what we've done over the years has indeed influenced them. If that's the case, then I won't object. These few people finally had some conscience. All right. Let's disperse. Hurry up and comprehend the laws and integrate the ultimate profound meaning. Qin Feiyang looked at Pei Tianhong and the rest and waved his hand. Yes. Everyone looked at each other and smiled. They left together with excitement. Very soon, there were only Qin Feiyang, White-Eyed Wolf, Long Chan, Long Qin, Li Zhongxing and hundreds of thousands of Sea Clan members left. Hundreds of thousands of Sea Clan members were in despair. But there was nothing they could do. 2 days passed. Long Chun looked haggard. This was a sign that his mental strength had been exhausted. No, I have to rest first. Long Chun waved his hand and sat cross-legged in the void, closing his eyes to rest. This rest lasted for half a month. But even so, even White-Eyed Wolf did not dare to urge Long Chun and waited patiently. Hence, just like that, it took several years to extract the ultimate profound meaning from all the Sea Clan members. This exhausted Long Chun greatly. He felt more tired than going through a bloody battle. Qin Feiyang smiled and said, Xiao Qin, why are you in a daze? Hurry and help your brother to rest. Okay. Long Qin was staring at Li Zhongxing and the other two who were doing the statistics. When he heard this, he immediately reacted and went forward to help Long Chen. White-eyed wolf hurriedly shouted, "Wait, there's still Tianpeng and those sea gods. Please spare me, let me have a good rest first, okay? If a person like you were to do business, the employees would definitely curse you and your ancestors behind your back." Long Chen's face darkened. Ha! White-eyed wolf laughed dryly. Long Chen rolled his eyes at him and turned to leave with Long Qin's help. The white-eyed wolf immediately went over to Qiao Shui and looked at the account book. "Brother Wolf, don't worry. Without a few days of hard work, it's impossible to calculate." Qiao Shui shook her head and smiled. "It's fine. Take your time. I'm just looking." The white-eyed wolf waved his hand. Qin Feiyong looked at the hundreds of thousands of seafolk, his eyes flickering. In the distant void. While walking, Long Chen asked Qin, "How do you feel after spending time with Qin Feiyong and the others?" "It's all right." Long Qin was stunned for a moment before he nodded. "Is it just okay?" Long Chen asked with a smile. "What else?" "To be honest, they're just a bunch of egomaniacs. They're arrogant and lawless, and they don't follow the rules." Long Qin pursed his lips. Even so, he had a good impression of Qin Feiyong and the others, but he didn't want to admit it. "But why do I feel that you're getting along well with them now? And, you didn't mind when Qin Feiyong called you by your nickname?" Long Chen chuckled. "He's thick-skinned." Long Qin raised his head. Long Chen shook his head and laughed. This sister of his really knew how to say one thing and mean another. Long Qin asked suspiciously, "Brother, why are you suddenly asking this?" "Actually, during this period of time, I deliberately let you interact with Qin Feiyong and the others alone. The purpose is to let you be honest with each other and open your hearts to each other. Now it seems that the effect is quite good." Long Chen smiled slightly. Long Qin frowned and asked, "Do you really like them that much?" "Not like but admire. They're all good people. You won't lose out if you make friends with them." Long Chen said with a smile. "I don't care." Long Qin snorted coldly. "You're so stubborn. You're my sister. Do you think I don't know what you're thinking? Be honest with your heart. But there's one thing I have to warn you seriously. Don't fall in love with the white-eyed wolf." Long Chen stopped and turned to stare at Long Qin. Long Qin was stunned. When he came to his senses, he immediately glared at Long Chen and said, "What nonsense are you talking about? Who wants to fall in love with him? Is he worthy?" "It's not a matter of whether he's worthy or not. It's this wolf cub, how should I put it? Anyway, I just can't stand it." Long Chen shook his head. "This?" Long Qin lowered his head and thought for a while. He looked at Long Chen and said, "He doesn't seem to be as bad as you said. Are you speaking for him?" Long Chen was stunned. He had a bad feeling in his heart. Could it be that his sister had taken a liking to this wolf cub? "No. I think that other than being a little punchable, he's actually not bad." Long Qin shook his head. Long Qin didn't think much of this sentence, but Long Qin's eyelids twitched. This wasn't a good frown. Could it really be like what the demon ancestor said? That these two fought and finally fell in love with each other? The white-eyed wolf was his brother-in-law? Long Chen couldn't help but shiver. Just thinking about it made his scalp tingle. He reminded him, "No matter what, you can't fall in love with the white-eyed wolf." "I won't. Don't worry." Long Qin waved his hand with a look of indifference. Achoo! Soul Ceiling Valley. The white-eyed wolf suddenly sneezed. "What's wrong?" Qiao Shui raised her head and looked at him suspiciously. The white-eyed wolf rubbed his nose and said, "Someone must be praising me behind my back." Qiao Shui was stunned. Li Zhongxing and the old poison also looked at the white-eyed wolf speechlessly. "Praising you? You're thinking too much. What's with that look?" The white-eyed wolf stared at the three of them, thinking that they were jealous of him. He proudly walked to Qin Feiyong's side and asked curiously, "What are you looking at? You've been staring at them." "I'm thinking, how should we deal with them now?" Qin Feiyong muttered. "Do you even need to ask? Don't leave a single one alive. Kill them all." The white-eyed wolf sneered coldly. Hundreds of thousands of marine race members had already been freed from the control. Hearing this, they couldn't help but look at the white-eyed wolf. Their empty eyes revealed a trace of contemplation. Right. Now they just wanted to die. What was the point of living when their ultimate intent was stolen? Wait. Suddenly, the white-eyed wolf frowned and looked at Qin Feiyang. Don't we still need to undo those seals? Why don't we ask them who are the elites of the marine race first? Most of the young people who can stay on the sea god's island should be elites. Qin Feiyang murmured. Swish. After a while, Long Qin returned. The white-eyed wolf asked, Bitch, if we kill these marine race members, will you undo all the seals for us? Who are you calling a bitch? Long Qin glared at him and glanced at the hundreds of thousands of marine race members. Let's see if there are any elites among them. Of course there are. Didn't you see with your own eyes that dozens of young marine race members were stripped of one or two ultimate intents of the strongest law? If they aren't elites, then what is? If you're looking for elites like me, I'm afraid you won't be able to find one in the entire divine kingdom. The white-eyed wolf grinned and said smugly, Shameless. Long Qin rolled her eyes. Then it's decided. I'll go find Li Feng and the demon ancestor now and kill these elites with my own hands. The white-eyed wolf chuckled. Long Qin's face darkened. Did they really not know how to follow the rules? Now that these people's sea of energy had been destroyed and their laws had been stripped, what was the difference between them and trash? It was not challenging at all. Don't go back on your word. We agreed that it would be fine as long as they kill the elites with their own hands. We didn't say that we couldn't help. The white-eyed wolf chuckled. What he meant was, who asked you not to make it clear in the past and let us catch a loophole? Okay. As long as you're happy. What rules? They're nothing in your eyes. Long Qin waved her hand angrily. Hey, don't curse. You're not civilized. The white-eyed wolf bared his teeth. More than a dozen ultimate intents of the strongest law. It felt good. Get lost. Long Qin's veins were bulging. He didn't follow the rules, but she wasn't allowed to scold him? How could there be such a logic? Qin Feiyang changed the topic and said with a smile, In that case, let's suppress these sea clan members in the soul-sealing valley first. If the white-eyed wolf continued to make trouble like this, he would drive Long Qin crazy. Aren't we going to kill them? The white-eyed wolf asked. We won't kill them for the time being. Maybe they will be valuable in the future. After all, Neptune doesn't know that they have lost their ultimate intents. The corners of Qin Feiyang's mouth curled up. These people were the core members of the Sea Clan. If there was a chance, Neptune would definitely not give up on rescuing them. And in order to save them, Neptune would naturally have to make a lot of sacrifices. As for the resentment of these Sea Clan members towards him, he could completely ignore it. In the past, those who had the ultimate intents were not his match, let alone now. As the saying goes, releasing the tiger back to the mountain. The premise was that the other party had to be a real tiger. But these Sea Clan members in front of him, even if he gave them a chance, they would not be able to become real tigers. Therefore, if they could get something valuable from Neptune, such as the origin source in Neptune's hands, it would be more profitable than directly killing these Sea Clan members. Chapter 4158. With hundreds of thousands of core members and 20 sea gods, he believed that Neptune would not hesitate to hand over the origin source. If he could really obtain the origin source, he would have the ability to compete with the dragon god. If that's the case, the white-eyed wolf rolled his eyes and bared his teeth. Why don't we add some more chips? Add some more chips. Qin Feiyang was slightly taken aback. He looked at the white-eyed wolf suspiciously and asked, What do you mean? Long Qin pursed his lips and said, He means to capture more members of the Sea Tribe. The more Sea Tribe members there are, the more chips we have. I'll go. You already know your brother so well. Tell me honestly, have you been secretly observing your brother? Actually, there's no need. We can do it openly. After all, this is your brother's charm. Everyone loves me. The white-eyed wolf bared his teeth. Oh my God, Long Qin looked at the sky and was speechless. How could there be such a shameless person in this world? Please be merciful and accept this evildoer. Qin Feiyang could not stand it anymore and directly kicked him. Narcissism, should there be a limit to it? He had never seen such a thick-skinned person. But your suggestion is not bad. The more Sea Tribe members there are, the more chips we have in our hands. How about this? I'll leave this matter to the two of you. Qin Feiyang smiled. Us? The white-eyed wolf's expression froze. Long Qin also looked at Qin Feiyong in shock. Asking the two of them to go to the sea tribe alone, was there a mistake? Wasn't he afraid that they would fight halfway? Is there a problem? Qin Feiyong was puzzled. What about you? Do you have anything to do now? The white-eyed wolf asked. Yes. I'm preparing to comprehend the ultimate meaning of the law of devour and the law of nothingness. Qin Feiyong nodded. Fuck you. You made us go to the Oceanids to mess around while you hid here to comprehend the laws. You sure know how to plan. White-eyed wolf immediately cursed. It is indeed immoral. Long Qin also glared fiercely at Qin Feiyong. Haha, Qin Feiyong laughed. They were arguing so fiercely just a moment ago, and now they were bombarding him together? This pair of enemies was really interesting. What are you laughing at? If you want to go, let's go together. It's just me and this bitch. I'm afraid she'll drag me down. The white-eyed wolf snorted. What are you talking about? Who's dragging who down? If you're not convinced, why don't we compete now? Long Qin glared at the white-eyed wolf angrily. A good man doesn't fight with a woman. The white-eyed wolf raised his head in disdain. If you don't have the guts, just say it. What a hypocrite. Long Qin didn't want to be outdone and said contemptuously. Qin Feiyong was helpless. Why were they arguing again? Couldn't they stop for a moment? He turned to look at Xiao Shui and said with a smile, "We'll go out first. I'll leave this place to you." Xiao Shui was slightly taken aback and teased. With so many ultimate mysteries, aren't you afraid that I'll secretly steal dozens or hundreds of them from Xidagarba? Qin Feiyong couldn't help but laugh. With a wave of his hand, he disappeared with the white-eyed wolf and Long Qin without a trace. Li Zhongxing immediately looked at Xiao Shui and said, Shui, you can't do something like stuffing your own pockets. Qin Feiyong has been very good to us and promised to give us all the ultimate mysteries. If you do this, you'll be repaying kindness with evil. Xiao Shui looked at Li Zhongxing in shock. Li Zhongxing was stunned. He turned to look at the old poison and asked suspiciously, Did I say something wrong? With your IQ you want to chase Xiao Shui? The old poison shook his head. Outside. Although a few years had passed in the Black Tortoise world, only a short while had passed in the outside world. However, in just a short while, the news of the Sea Lion Island had spread throughout the 4 great continents. What? That's crazy. The Sea God's Island is the sacred land of the sea race. Most of the sea race's experts are here. How dare they attack the Sea God's Island so brazenly? What's Neptune doing? Why isn't he stopping them? Rumor has it that Neptune went to the Central Dynasty. The Central Dynasty? What's he doing there? I don't know. But now the 20 sea gods of the sea race have been annihilated and more than half of their core members have been killed. It's hard to imagine what kind of reaction Neptune will have when he returns. Is there even a need to think about it? I'm afraid he'll even want to dig up Qin Feiyong's ancestral grave. Those bastards really know how to cause trouble. Compared to the Sea God's Island, the Supreme Mountain, the Mythical Island, and the Dragon God Mountain are just child's play. The living beings of the various continents were discussing. At this moment, the sea race on the other islands had also learned of this matter. Everyone was in a state of panic. They were afraid that Qin Feiyong would appear in front of them in the next moment. In the east of the sea, there was a huge island standing on the sea. This island was the second largest island after the Sea God's Island. The island was filled with mountains and lush greenery. Whoosh! At this moment, a space-time tunnel suddenly appeared in the sky above the island. The island was heavily guarded. The slightest movement would attract the attention of the sea race. When the space-time tunnel appeared, the experts of the sea race on the island immediately looked up. Their faces were filled with vigilance and shock. In short, the sea race was like a bird that was startled by the twang of a bow. Who could it be? It doesn't matter who it is, as long as it's not Qin Feiyong or his group. The experts of the sea race were nervous. Finally, 3 figures walked out of the space-time tunnel. When the oceanic species expert saw the 3 of them, his face turned ghastly pale. 2 men and 1 woman came out. Of the 2 men, one was dressed in white and had a calm expression, revealing confidence and calmness. The other was dressed in a long golden robe and looked unruly. Both of them looked to be in their 20s, and their auras were incomparable. As they stood in the sky, they were as dazzling as the stars in the sky. The woman next to them also looked to be in her 20s. She wore a silver-white long dress and gave off a cold feeling that kept people thousands of miles away. If it wasn't Qin Feiyong, who was the golden-winged wolf king from Longqin? Qin Feiyong is attacking. The group of experts of the sea race came back to their senses and immediately roared. At this moment, the entire island was in a mess. Qin Feiyong and the other two were stunned. They were discovered so quickly. So they lowered their heads and looked at the experts of the sea race. There were about 50 to 60 people. There were men and women, old and young. These must be the experts of the sea race who were responsible for protecting this island. Whoosh! As soon as he finished speaking, a red figure swept out from the mountains below and landed in front of Qin Feiyong and the others like lightning. It was a middle-aged man in a red robe. He looked like a human and was only about 1.7 meters tall. But there were several pairs of red wings on his back. I'm Hai Yunchuan, the owner of this island. Greetings, my lords. The middle-aged man bowed to salute. Qin Feiyong and the other two were stunned. How could he be so humble? And he even called himself a villain? They couldn't get used to it for a while. In fact, Hai Yunchuan didn't want to be like this. But there was no other way. Neptune was not here. The sea gods were also captured. Who could help them now in the East Continent? In order to protect themselves, they could only bow and scrape, hoping that the other party would let go of the sea race here. May I ask why the three of you have come to our small island? Hai Yunchuan lowered his head humbly and asked. Island? The white-eyed wolf glanced at the island and said, This is an island? Of course. In your eyes, this is no different from a small place. Hai Yunchuan smiled flatteringly. In fact, Hai Yunchuan's strength was not weak. As the owner of the second-largest island, he also controlled the will of heaven. But there was no other way. The other party was Qin Feiyong, the golden-winged wolf king, and Longqin. It was not something he could deal with. You're good at talking. It makes us a little embarrassed to destroy this island. The white-eyed wolf laughed. Hai Yunchuan's expression stiffened. He hastily knelt in the air. Enduring the humiliation in his heart, he shouted, Sirs, please be lenient. If you really want to attack, then kill me. I am willing to use my life in exchange for the fate of all the members of the sea race here. So righteous. The white-eyed wolf was surprised. It's my duty to protect my people. I have no other request. I just hope that the three lords can leave me a complete corpse. After Hai Yunchuan finished speaking, he closed his eyes and looked like he was waiting for death. But in fact he was nervous to the extreme. Who wanted to die? It was nothing more than a trick to win the sympathy of Qin Feiyong and the other two. The white-eyed wolf looked at Hai Yunchuan, and a trace of killing intent suddenly appeared in his eyes. He nodded and said, Okay, I'll help you. He slapped Hai Yunchuan's head. Hai Yunchuan's body shook, and he instinctively stood up to fight back. The white-eyed wolf sneered. Didn't you just say that you're willing to exchange your life for the fate of all the sea race here? Seems that you're just saying it. Feeling the white-eyed wolf's killing intent, Hai Yunchuan looked down at his people. Their faces were full of despair, and their hearts were in extreme pain. He then looked at the white-eyed wolf and slowly lowered his arm, saying, I hope you can keep your words. After that, he didn't show any signs of fighting back. The white-eyed wolf sneered and slapped him mercilessly. Accompanied by a scream, Hai Yunchuan's head was smashed on the spot. Blood and flesh splattered everywhere, and his divine soul trembled. Below, looking at this scene, all the sea race on the island were furious. Qin Feiyong looked at Hai Yunchuan's divine soul, and then looked at the sea race on the island below. He said coldly, Do it, destroy this place. What? Hai Yunchuan's divine soul was shocked and said angrily, You can't do this? You promised me. When did we promise you? It seems that you've always been the one saying it. The white-eyed wolf smiled mockingly. Hai Yunchuan trembled slightly. The other party didn't seem to have explicitly said that he would let them go. But at this moment, a violent shout sounded. Don't go too far. As the voice fell, a white-haired old man descended from the sky. Ninth Master Ji? Qin Feiyong and the other two were slightly stunned. Ninth Master, why is he here? Ninth Master Ji. Save us. Seeing Ninth Master Ji descending, Hai Yunchuan hurriedly called for help as if he had seen a life-saving straw. The other sea race members were the same. In the past, everyone in the sea race didn't like the people of the Purple Gold Divine Dragon clan, but now when they saw Ninth Master Ji appear, it was as if they had seen a family member. Chapter 4159. Don't panic. Jizhou comforted the group of Oceanids and looked at Qin Feiyang and the other two. Are you done? Isn't destroying the sea god's island enough? Do you want to destroy the entire Oceanids? Qin Feiyang and the other two looked at each other. What kind of drama was this? Don't misunderstand. He's looking down on us. He wants us to protect the Oceanids. This way, not only will the Sea King no longer suspect us, he will also be grateful to our Purple Gold Divine Dragon clan. Suddenly Yizhou's voice sounded in their minds. So that's how it is. Qin Feiyang suddenly understood and smiled. So the other great-grandpas and great-grandmas are also in this sea? Yes, they're on another island. Jizhou thought. That's right. The monarch is quite calculative. The ingrate snickered in his heart. Old man? Master Jizhou was taken aback and scolded in his heart. Impudent. Also, how can this be called scheming? As long as we gain Neptune's trust, Neptune and the Central Dynasty won't hide any plans or schemes from us in the future. At that time, won't it be much easier for you to do things? Makes sense. Qin Feiyang pondered for a while and said, but now that you're here, should we continue? Or retreat immediately? Of course we should continue. Otherwise, this show will be too fake. Jizhou said. So we still have to fight with you? White-eyed Wolf was stunned. Of course. And we can't show mercy. Jizhou thought. The three of them looked at each other. In that case, boom. The aura of the three burst out and they immediately attacked Jizhou together. The corner of Jizhou's mouth twitched. I told you not to show mercy and you really didn't show mercy? These heartless little bastards. Qin Feiyang and the other two were wronged. Didn't you say not to show mercy? I've been following your orders all this time. Quickly leave the island. Master Jizhou shouted at the members of the sea tribe on the island below. With a thought, 3,000 incarnations appeared out of nowhere and charged toward the three people like a pack of tigers and wolves. You overestimate yourself. Qin Feiyang snorted coldly. 3,000 clones also appeared. A chaotic battle ensued. Hai Yunchuan's god soul immediately left the battlefield and fled with his clansmen on the island. From time to time he would turn his head to look at Jizhou. His eyes filled with worry. Everyone knew the strength of Qin Feiyang and the other two. Was this old man a match for them? I think the rumors are true. The dragon god has really colluded with Qin Feiyang and the others. I think so too. Otherwise, why hasn't he sent anyone to protect us in secret? To think that he even said that the god race, the human race, and the Purple Gold Divine Dragon race were colluding with Qin Feiyang, causing us to misunderstand the three races. What a hateful beast. All the members of the sea tribes were enraged. Battle. Soon the battle reached its climax. Qin Feiyang and the other two waved their hands, and various ultimate mysteries roared out, including the ultimate mysteries of the law of life and death. At this moment, Master Jizhou became battered and exhausted, because now Qin Feiyang's will of the heavenly Tao had become stronger. It was on a completely different level from the last time he fought with Master Jizhou in the village. You want to take the opportunity to kill me and inherit my tea garden? Master Jizhou said angrily. Qin Feiyang was slightly taken aback and secretly smiled. Thank you for reminding me, great-grandfather. The corner of Master Jizhou's mouth twitched fiercely. Boom! Facing the storm-like attacks of the three, Master Jizhou retreated step by step. After a while, his whole body was dripping with blood. Even Master Jizhou is no match for them? What kind of monster is this Qin Feiyang? In the distance, a group of sea tribe members watched in horror. They were also glad that Master Jizhou had stepped forward. Otherwise, who could stop these three? Rumble, the fluctuations of the battle shocked all directions. Swish. This time, space-time passages appeared one after another. 14 old men arrived one after another. It was Boss G and the other old men. Great-grandfathers and great-grandmothers, you guys are too exaggerated. You don't have to come together. Qin Feiyang was helpless. Even if he had mastered the ultimate meaning of the law of life and death, even if he had 2 wills of the heavenly Tao, he didn't dare to compete with these 15 old men. These 15 old men each had 3,000 incarnations. How terrifying would it be if they attacked together? Without thinking, Qin Feiyang immediately opened the space-time passage and left with the white-eyed wolf and Long Qin. Don't run if you have the ability. Master Jizhou was indignant. He originally planned to wait for Boss Ji and the others to come and teach these 3 little guys a lesson, but who knew that they would run away faster than rabbits? If you don't run, are you waiting to be beaten by us? But you're really in a sorry state. Boss Ji and the others looked at Master Jizhou and laughed secretly. Master Jizhou's face darkened as he stared at the group of people angrily. You guys are here too? Hai Yunchuan flew over and looked at Boss Ji and the others in disbelief. Aren't you asking the obvious? After the king returned from the Sea God's Island, he immediately found us and asked us to come here to secretly protect the important islands of the Sea Tribe. Boss Ji said lightly, Thank you, King. Thank you all. Hai Yunchuan was grateful. Without these old men, he didn't dare to imagine how big of a crisis the Sea Tribe would face. Now that the Sea Lion Island was almost destroyed, there couldn't be any accidents on the other islands. We don't dare to count on your gratitude. We just hope that you won't suspect us of colluding with Qin Feiyang in the future. Ji Laoshi snorted coldly. That won't happen, that won't happen. In the past, we were all instigated by the dragon god. Ji Yunchuan waved his hand. Don't talk about the dragon god. Maybe he's really innocent. Old Ji said. He's innocent? If he's really innocent, why didn't he appear now? When Lord Neptune comes back, I will immediately report this matter to him and seek justice from the dragon god. Hai Yunchuan's eyes were full of resentment. The group of old men looked at each other with a hint of smile in their eyes. They knew it. Now, the more they exonerated the dragon god, the more the Sea Tribe would believe that the dragon god colluded with Qin Feiyang. Buzz. Suddenly, in the distance, a voice transmission godstone rang. This person took it out. The figure of an old man of the Sea Tribe immediately appeared. The old man of the Sea Tribe shouted anxiously, Quickly tell your island master to bring reinforcements immediately. What's wrong? Hearing this, the Sea Tribe present were all surprised. Hai Yunchuan, Master Jizhou, and the others quickly flew over. Why are these old men here? When the old man of the Sea Tribe saw Master Jizhou and the others, he couldn't help but be stunned. Then, he looked at Hai Yunchuan and shouted, Qin Feiyang, Golden-Winged Wolf King, Long Qin has invaded our island. Quickly come and help. What? They went to your island so quickly? Hai Yunchuan's expression changed. Don't talk nonsense, quickly come over. The old man of the Sea Tribe roared anxiously. But before he finished speaking, a young man in golden clothes appeared behind the old man of the Sea Tribe. The old man of the Sea Tribe stiffened and slowly turned his head to look. Who else could it be but the white-eyed wolf? The white-eyed wolf stood behind the old man of the Sea Tribe and looked at Master Jizhou and the others. He smiled cruelly and said, Next, let's play a guerrilla war. Let's see if you can save the entire Sea Tribe. Bastard! Master Jizhou shouted angrily. The white-eyed wolf grinned and slapped down. The old man of the Sea Tribe screamed and his body was shattered on the spot. The image of the transmission also disappeared. Old senior, what should we do? Hai Yunchuan looked at the group of old men in despair. Don't panic. Let's immediately send a message to the king, and let him inform the divine king, and the human sovereign to immediately lead the experts of the 3 races to support us. Master Jizhou comforted. Thank you, Master Zhou. Hai Yunchuan thanked him again and again. The king, the divine king, and the human sovereign were also quite cooperative. When they heard the news, they immediately mobilized a large force and came to support the Sea Tribe. Dragon God Mountain. The Golden Tiger hurriedly entered the Dragon God Mountain and looked at the Dragon God sitting in the pavilion. He said excitedly, My lord, there's news about Qin Feiyang and the others. Where are they? The Dragon God suddenly stood up, killing intent surging in his eyes. The Sea Tribe. The Golden Tiger said. What? They appeared in the Sea Tribe again. The Dragon God frowned. Yes. Looking at their posture, They seem to be planning to take advantage of Neptune's absence to completely overthrow the sea tribe. The golden tiger nodded. Their ambition is not small. The dragon god clenched his fists. Then should we go now or not? The golden tiger asked. What do you think? The dragon god asked back. The sea tribe has already misunderstood us. If we go, won't we be asking for trouble? The golden tiger frowned. He was very unhappy with the sea tribe's attitude. Each and every one of them had a pig's brain. They actually believed Qin Feiyang's nonsense. What you said makes sense. However, if we don't go now, it's equivalent to admitting that we are colluding with Qin Feiyang. The dragon god sighed. That's true. The golden tiger nodded. After pondering for a while, he said, and I also received news that the group of old men from the Purple Gold Divine Dragon clan are now helping the sea tribe. Then we have to go even more. Otherwise, when the time comes, the human clan, the god clan, and the Purple Gold Divine Dragon clan will also believe that we are colluding with Qin Feiyang. I'll go first. Hurry up and gather the beast venerables below. All of them will go to the sea tribe to support them. The dragon god instructed and immediately opened a space-time passage to the sea. This time the sea tribe was lively, because except for the central dynasty, the 5 major clans of the 4 continents were gathered in this sea area. The powerhouses of the 5 major clans gathered in one place. This was most likely the first time in the history of the Divine Kingdom. Not to mention anything else, just this point alone was enough for Qin Feiyang and the others to be recorded in the history of the Divine Kingdom. However, although the 5 major clans were gathered in the sea area, it was not that easy to catch Qin Feiyang and the other 2. Moreover, seeing the dragon god, the golden tiger, and a group of beast venerables descend, the people of the sea tribe did not welcome them at all. If not for the king and the others stopping them, the sea tribe would have driven them away directly. This made the dragon god even angrier. In his heart, his resentment towards Qin Feiyang and the others was even stronger. Because all of this was caused by Qin Feiyang and the others. Chapter 4160. In just half a day, the Sea Clan's 6 islands suffered a devastating blow. Not only were the islands razed to the ground, but the Sea Clan on the islands were also captured. Even resources such as spirit veins and crystal veins disappeared one after another. However, no matter how hard the dragon god and the others tried, they could not catch Qin Feiyang and the other 2 immediately. Every time they arrived at the scene of the incident, they were one step too late. This kind of helplessness almost made them collapse. Especially the Sea Clan. They had never experienced this kind of despair. They were clearly right under their noses, but they could only watch helplessly as a few people did whatever they wanted in the Sea Clan. In the end, someone made a suggestion. Transfer the Sea Clan from all places to the Sea God's Island for protection. This suggestion undoubtedly solved the immediate crisis of the Sea Clan. Because in this way, with the protection of the 3 major clans, especially the protection of the Purple Gold Divine Dragon clan, no matter how bold Qin Feiyang and the others were, they would definitely not dare to attack the Sea God's Island again. So, the island masters of each island ordered all the Sea Clan to rush to the Sea God's Island. The most interesting thing was, when all the Sea Clan were transferred to the Sea God's Island, all the clansmen of the Sea Clan immediately ordered the Dragon God to leave. The Dragon God originally wanted to personally protect the Sea God's Island as an explanation to Neptune. However, looking at the people of the Sea Clan, who were constantly insulting him, he was really angry in his heart. The Golden Tiger and a group of beast sovereigns almost fought with the Sea Clan. In the end, it was only under the persuasion of the king and the other 2 that both sides stopped the dispute. Helpless, the Dragon God could only take the Golden Tiger and a group of beast sovereigns and leave dejectedly. The Black Tortoise World. This time, another forbidden area. The Desert of Death. This was the place where Qin Feiyang had obtained the Black Tortoise World. The Fire Lotus had also swallowed countless undead and condensed flesh and blood here. The desert stretched as far as the eye could see. The storm rolled up the yellow sand all over the sky. In the deepest part there was a majestic building, like a peerless beast, lurking here, exuding an aura that made one's heart palpitate. This was the divine treasure of the Black Tortoise World. Every time the divine treasures opened, This desert would become a battlefield. Therefore, this place was even more terrifying than when Qin Feiyang had first obtained the Black Tortoise realm. The yellow sand had almost turned dark red, and the smell of blood filled the air. At this moment, at a certain place, millions of members of the Oceanids had gathered here. Looking around, panic was written all over his face. These were the sea folk that Qin Feiyang and the other two had captured over the past half a day. Where is this place? Why is there not even a shadow of a ghost? What is Qin Feiyang trying to do? Kill us? Could this be the tomb he prepared for us? Thinking of this, they couldn't help but feel their scalps go numb. No, I don't want to die. Everyone look around. There must be an exit here. But at this moment, streaks of rule force descended from the sky. Millions of members of the sea folk looked up at the sky, their faces filled with fear. The power of rules descended, forming a huge barrier, trapping all of them inside. Destroy it. Escape. Many people roared in anger. Some activated their profound laws, some activated their divine techniques, and some took out their divine artifacts to attack the barrier. But in the end, they found that they could not shake the barrier at all. Why did it become like this? Lord Neptune, come and save us. Gradually, only helplessness and despair were left in their hearts. I never thought that the Black Tortoise realm's rule force would be so strong. Even profound laws and heaven-defying divine artifacts can't shake it. Above the barrier, Qin Feiyang and the other two stood in the sandstorm, witnessing this scene with their own eyes. Their expressions were a little strange. That's right. Among these members of the sea folk, many had mastered profound laws and heaven-defying divine artifacts. But even so, the barrier formed by the rule force showed no signs of breaking. Their strength is still too weak. If a group of members of the sea folk who have mastered profound laws comes, why don't you try and see if they can break this barrier? The white-eyed wolf pursed his lips. The overall strength of the various islands of the sea folk differed greatly. Powerful islands such as the Sea God's Island were ridiculously strong. But weak islands, just like the millions of sea folk on the 6 islands in front of them, the strongest had only mastered profound laws. Their status in the sea folk was similar to that of ordinary humans. However, even if they were ordinary humans, they were still members of the sea folk. Neptune had to care about them, otherwise, it would make the other sea folk disappointed. This bargaining chip should be enough, right? Longqin asked, roughly estimating that there were at least 3 million sea folk here, plus the 500,000 to 600,000 sea folk suppressed in the Soul-Sealing Valley. There were almost 4 million. This number was still quite scary. Qin Feiyang nodded. The other sea folk had already been transferred to the Sea God's Island, so there was no chance to make a move now. Lord. At this time, Pai Lupi and Theta Wang flew over. Qin Feiyang looked at the two and asked, have you arranged the crystal veins and spirit veins for you? The number of spirit veins and crystal veins on the 6 islands was not small. Everything has been arranged. Pai Lupi nodded. How many exactly? White-eyed Wolf was curious. There are more than 8 million. Pai Lupi smiled. So many. White-eyed Wolf was stunned. It was a little unexpected. He thought that there would be at most 4 to 5 million crystal veins and spirit veins. Of course, the more spirit veins and crystal veins, the better. Pai Lupi grinned, looked down at the sea folk in the barrier, and asked, but these sea folk, do you plan to imprison them here? The sea folk below did not notice the few people standing in the sandstorm. Just imprison them here for now. Qin Feiyang nodded. Theta Wang was puzzled. I don't understand. Why do you have to separate these millions of sea folk from the hundreds of thousands of sea folk in the Soul-Sealing Valley? It's very simple. When we negotiate with Neptune, we must show some sincerity first. These millions of sea folk in front of us are prepared for this. Qin Feiyang smiled slightly. I understand. If we hand over the hundreds of thousands of sea folk in the Soul-Sealing Valley to Neptune in advance, Neptune will find that their ultimate meaning has been deprived and will not negotiate with us. Theta Wang nodded in realization. That's right. The hundreds of thousands of sea folk in the Soul-Sealing Valley have to be left for last to give Neptune a surprise. Qin Feiyang smiled. This is a surprise. I'm afraid it's a shock. Theta Wang smiled bitterly. He could already imagine how wonderful it would be when Neptune saw the scene of hundreds of thousands of core members being stripped of their ultimate meaning. Although he is imprisoned by the rule force, you still have to be careful. You must keep an eye on him. Qin Feiyang looked at the two and reminded them. No problem. The two nodded. However, Pai Lupi rolled his eyes and asked, then, can we ask them to take out all their heaven-defying divine artifacts, divine arts, and Shenkuan rings? Qin Feiyang was slightly taken aback and teased. With your current status in the Black Tortoise world, would you still be interested in these things? Look at what you're saying. No matter how small a mosquito's leg is, it's still meat. Let's talk about it later. Don't we still have a large group of people under us? If we don't need it, we can give it to them. Pai Lupi smiled. Yes. Qin Feiyang slapped his head. He had forgotten about this matter. Although the two had been helping him all these years, the two still had a force in the Black Tortoise world and had many capable subordinates under them. You see, Pai Lupi looked at Qin Feiyang expectantly. Up to you. But I have to warn you. Just because I'm supporting you, your subordinates can act unscrupulously in the Black Tortoise world and bully others. If such a thing really happens, then don't blame me for not giving you any face. Qin Feiyang said. Don't worry about that. We will definitely restrain them. If it really happens, you don't need to say anything. We will bring our own heads to see you. The two vowed solemnly. That's good. Qin Feiyang nodded. He was just reminding the two of them. After all, no matter who it was, as time passed, ambition and desire would increase. Pai Lupi and Theta Wang were cultivated by him. He trusted the two of them very much. Therefore, he did not want to end their lives with his own hands one day in the future, because for him this was a very painful thing. After Qin Feiyang and the other two left, Pai Lupi and Theta Wang looked at each other and immediately stepped in front of the barrier. Who are you? Looking at these unfamiliar faces, the millions of sea folk were immediately shocked. The two looked at each other and said proudly, of course we are the subordinates of the Lord Ruler. Lord Ruler? The millions of sea folk were stunned. That's right. The place you are in now is the Lord Ruler's Black Tortoise world. As for our Lord Ruler, you should not be unfamiliar with him. He is the Qin Feiyang you are afraid of. Pai Lupi smiled eerily. Qin Feiyang. Lord Ruler. The hearts of the sea folk were in a perilous situation. There had long been rumors that Qin Feiyang had an independent world. They thought it was just a rumor, but they did not expect it to be true. I beg the two of you to help. Please tell Qin Feiyang to let us go. We are just pawns of the sea folk. We have no value at all. After regaining their senses and suppressing the shock in their hearts, the group of sea folk looked at the two of them and begged. We don't agree with this. Pawns also have their own value. Pai Lupi sneered. They were once pawns, but now? Who dared to look down on them? Devil's Land. Outside for a long time. More than 2,000 years had passed in the Black Tortoise world. Xiao Shui and the other two had already calculated. This time. Tea garden. Qin Feiyang sat in front of the stone table, brewing tea while looking forward. Not long later, Xiao Shui walked over quickly, her face rosy and her spirit hale and hearty. She seemed to be in a good state. Quickly speak, quickly speak. White-eyed Wolf held a jug of divine wine and looked at Xiao Shui impatiently. Then you guys should be mentally prepared. Xiao Shui sat opposite the three of them and smiled while taking out an account book. At the same time, Qin Feiyang poured a cup of tea and pushed it in front of Xiao Shui. Thank you. Xiao Shui thanked him and picked up the teacup. She lowered her head and sipped the tea while carefully looking at the account book. After a while, she closed the account book and memorized everything. She raised her head and looked at Qin Feiyang and the other two. She smiled and asked, Are you ready? Speak. What kind of storm have we not seen before? White-eyed Wolf waved his hand and glared at her with dissatisfaction. Chapter 4161. Xiao Shui smiled slightly and looked at the three of them. There are a total of 300,000 ultimate profundities of ordinary laws. Among them, there are more than 11,000 ultimate profundities of thunder law, and more than 12,000 ultimate profundities of light law. More than 300,000 profundities. Qin Feiyang and the other two looked at each other. While listening to Xiao Shui's report, they were extremely excited. More than 300,000 ultimate profundities of ordinary laws. Who would dare to imagine? They had never seen so many. In this way, on average, 2 people would have 1 ultimate profundity of ordinary laws. Just think about it. In the Sky Cloud realm, not to mention the strongest laws, only the dragons, the Feng people, the Kirin clan, the land of buried gods, and the reclusive old antiques of the Sky Cloud Sea had mastered ordinary laws. Could be said that, in total, there were no more than 100. But now just one sea clan, just 2/3 of the sea clan on the Sea God's Island, had more than 300,000 ultimate profundities of ordinary laws. This was not on the same level at all. The Sea God's Island was indeed worthy of being the sacred land of the Sea Clan. The quality was astonishing. As for the ultimate profundities of the strongest laws, Xiao Shui took a sip of tea, and under the expectant gaze of the 3, she smiled and said, "There are a total of 53,211 profundities." What? Qin Feiyang and the other 2 suddenly stood up. More than 53,000 profundities. This number was almost twice as much as they expected, because they originally estimated that there would be at most 20,000 to 30,000 ultimate profundities of the strongest laws. In the entire Devil's Land, there were only about 6,000 people. In other words, just close to 30,000 ultimate profundities of the strongest laws would be enough for everyone to master the will of the heavenly Tao. And now this was more than enough. This is too shocking. Qin Feiyang murmured, his heart unable to calm down for a long time. He really had to be mentally prepared. Otherwise, if he was not careful, his blood vessels might swell and he might die from excitement. Actually, thinking about it, there is nothing to be surprised about, because these hundreds of thousands of Sea Clan members are the core members of the Sea Clan. Many of them have mastered 3 to 4 ultimate profundities of the strongest laws. Some prodigies have also mastered 1 or 2 ultimate profundities of the strongest laws, especially those in the middle. For example, the enforcers of the 3 major races and the various sovereign beasts of the beast race. These middle-level characters basically have 1 or 2 ultimate profundities of ultimate laws. So, in that case, we'll only need around 20,000 Sea Clan members to gather 50,000 ultimate mysteries of ultimate laws. Long Qin explained. That makes sense. Thinking back, when the human race, God race, and purple gold divine dragon race surrounded us, there were at least 50 to 60,000 experts with ultimate profundities of ultimate laws. This might not be all of the 3 great races. They should be holding back as well. If we include all of them, I estimate that there are at least 70 to 80,000 ultimate law experts from the 3 major races. Even the 3 major races have so many, not to mention the Sea Tribe, the trusted followers of the Divine Kingdom's ruler. The white-eyed wolf nodded. The biggest reason is the Sea God's Island. The Sea God's Island is the sacred land of the Sea Tribe. Most of the Sea Tribe's experts are here. Even now, 1/3 of the Sea Tribe's experts are still on the Sea God's Island. For the entire Sea Tribe, this is a great loss. Xiao Shui smiled faintly. It's all because of that bastard, the Dragon God, who likes to meddle in other people's business. If it weren't for him, who would be able to escape from our evil clutches? The white-eyed wolf snorted coldly. Be content. With so many ultimate profundities, it's enough for you to cultivate an army of death gods that will make people tremble in fear. Long Qin looked at him with disdain. This was what it meant to be insatiable. Who would complain about having too many of these? Would you? The white-eyed wolf bared his teeth. I'm not as greedy as you. Long Qin pouted. That's true. Because you're not the same kind of person as us. You don't have the same sense of responsibility as us. Do you think that we're snatching these ultimate profundities for ourselves? No. We're doing this for the good of the Black Tortoise realm and the Sky Cloud realm. The white-eyed wolf waved his hand. When Long Qin heard this, he looked at the serious white-eyed wolf in surprise. Let's not talk about the Black Tortoise realm first. Because the beings of the Black Tortoise realm don't need to face the Divine Kingdom head-on. As long as we're alive, they'll always be safe. But the Sky Cloud realm is different. The beings of the Sky Cloud realm will face the danger of the Divine Kingdom's invasion at any time. And you also know that there are only a handful of people in the Sky Cloud realm who have mastered the ultimate profundities. With their strength, they simply can't fight against the Divine Kingdom. So, since we have this opportunity now, we naturally have to seek more benefits for the Sky Cloud realm. In other words, while we weaken the Divine Kingdom, we're also strengthening the Sky Cloud realm. This is killing two birds with one stone. Isn't it great? The white-eyed wolf chuckled. The corner of Longqing's mouth twitched, and he asked, so now, you still plan to hunt down the Sea Clan and the Beast Clan and snatch their ultimate profundities? Of course. With such a big treasure in front of us, you want me to just watch? I can't do it. The white-eyed wolf bared his teeth. Treasure? Longqing's cheeks kept twitching. He actually regarded the Beast Clan and the Sea Clan as a big treasure. If the Sea Clan and the Beast Clan heard this, who knew what they would think? Of course. The premise is that your brother has to continue to help us. The white-eyed wolf put on a flattering smile. Longqing rolled his eyes. Did he really treat her brother as a tool? Actually, I won't let you work for free. In the future of the Sky Cloud realm, you siblings will definitely be recorded in the annals of history, and your names will be passed down through the ages. The white-eyed wolf bared his teeth. Who cares? Longqing disdainfully said. Cut the crap. Give us the ultimate profound meaning we need first. All right. The white-eyed wolf nodded and looked at Xiao Shui with a smile. Give her whatever she wants. Okay. Xiao Shui nodded. Qin Feiyang smiled and said, in that case, call the others over, including Mu Tianyang, Mu Qing, the demon ancestor, and the demon dragon beside the demon ancestor. Demon dragon? The white-eyed wolf was slightly taken aback and frowned. If you didn't mention it now, I would have already forgotten about this guy's existence. In all these years in the Black Tortoise realm, there was no trace of the demon dragon. Presumably, it must be hiding in the demon ancestor's spatial divine object and cultivating in a low profile. Suddenly, Qin Feiyang patted his head and looked at the white-eyed wolf. There seems to be two more people. Who? The white-eyed wolf was suspicious. Zhang Xiaoyang and Guosweki. Qin Feiyang said. Zhang Xiaoyang? The white-eyed wolf was taken aback. He still remembered Guosweki. This was an interesting incident. Back then, she pretended to be Qin Feiyang's fiancée and caused quite a stir. Later, Guosweki had been following Mu Tianyang and hiding in Mu Tianyang's spatial divine object. But this Zhang Xiaoyang, he really did not have any impression of him. Zhang Xiaoyang is someone I met when Huiyi, and I went to Dongling to look for the demon ancestor in Dongzhengyang. He has a good relationship with the demon ancestor. And at that time he even fought side by side with us. Later, when we entered Divine Prefecture, the demon ancestor also kept him by his side. But all these years I haven't seen him appear. He should have been in the demon ancestor's spatial divine object. Qin Feiyang said as he recalled. Back then, when he entered Dongling to look for the demon ancestor in Dongzhengyang, many interesting things happened. Miss Tianxian, he got to know her at that time. The most famous Tianxian wine of the Heaven Immortal Tower was a top-grade wine that the White-Eyed Wolf, Huiyi Frenzy, and the Five-Clawed Golden Dragon coveted. The White-Eyed Wolf said, so, there are still many people hiding in our Devil's Land? What do you mean? Qin Feiyang was puzzled. Since Guosweki and Zhang Xiaoyang are hiding in the spatial divine objects of the demon ancestor and Mu Tianyang, then we can't rule out that there are others in their spatial divine objects. The White-Eyed Wolf chuckled. This, Qin Feiyang did not dare to make an assertion. He waved his hand and said, no matter how many people are hiding around them, it doesn't matter to us now. That's true. What Guosweki? What Mo Long? I can kill them in a second. The White-Eyed Wolf smiled proudly. Look at how cocky you are. At this moment Longqing had already obtained the ultimate profound from Xiao Shui, and directly cast a look of disdain at the White-Eyed Wolf. When men talk, women move to the side. The White-Eyed Wolf's face darkened. I can't be bothered to talk nonsense with you. Longqing smiled in disdain and immediately stood up to leave. Where are you going? The White-Eyed Wolf looked at her suspiciously. Of course I'm going to look for Big Brother and also go into seclusion to fuse the ultimate profound. If there's nothing, don't bother me. After saying that, Longqing left without turning back. The White-Eyed Wolf waved his hand and shouted, then take care. I won't send you off. Don't ever come out of seclusion. Longqing paused and turned her head to glare at the White-Eyed Wolf. After Longqing left, Xiao Shui looked at the White-Eyed Wolf with a strange expression. What? The white-eyed wolf touched his face. Was there something on his face? Brother Wolf, there's something wrong with you. Xiao Shui smiled meaningfully. Something's wrong? The white-eyed wolf was stunned. What's going on? Xiao Shui said, your current relationship with Longqin is a little more than an ordinary friendship. Tell me honestly, have you already developed feelings for her? What the hell? The white-eyed wolf immediately jumped up and said angrily, your imagination is too rich. Is that really the case? Then why did you subconsciously ask where she was going when she left earlier? That's an instinctive reaction. It means that you're now very concerned about her every move. In other words, you're concerned about her. It's just that you haven't noticed it yourself. Xiao Shui smiled slightly. When Qin Feiyang heard this, he couldn't help but feel a chill in his heart. He didn't notice it before, but after hearing Xiao Shui's words it seemed to be the case. Although the two of them often bickered, from the white-eyed wolf's reaction, he did show some concern for Longqin. Qin Feiyang pondered for a while and looked at the white-eyed wolf. Since we're talking about this problem now, I'll have a good talk with you. Talk about what? The white-eyed wolf frowned. About you and Longqin. You know my character. I'm very loyal when it comes to relationships. But I'm me and you're you. I won't interfere with your love life, and I won't force you to be like me. However, there are some things that you have to deal with. You already have fire dance now. You can't do anything that will make her sad. Qin Feiyang said. The remaining 2 chapters will be released before 11 o'clock. Chapter 4162. Why are you the same as Xiao Shui? Why would brother take a fancy to her? Sister Feng is the only one in brother's heart. The white-eyed wolf looked at Qin Feiyang speechlessly. Brother Wolf. As the saying goes, the onlookers see more clearly than the players involved. All of us have seen it with our own eyes. Of course, if you and Longqin really want to develop your relationship, we definitely won't object to it. But first you have to get Fire Dance's consent. Xiao Shui chuckled. You're getting more and more ridiculous. The white-eyed wolf got up and glared at Qin Feiyang and Xiao Shui. I can't be bothered to listen to your nonsense. Hurry up and give me the ultimate profound meaning. I'm going into seclusion. What's the hurry? I'm not done yet. If you don't like Longqin, you'd better keep a distance from her in the future and not provoke her. Although it's free love now, I'm more against it from the bottom of my heart. Besides, Longzuan and Ice Dragon will definitely not agree. Qin Feiyang shook his head. Alright. I'll keep a distance from her in the future, lest you let your imagination run wild. The white-eyed wolf rubbed his forehead, looking speechless. Him and Longqin? How could that be possible? Alright. You're an adult, not a child. You have to know your limits. Qin Feiyang shook his head and shouted, everyone, gather at the tea garden. Whoosh! After a while, many figures broke through the air and arrived. Everyone's face was filled with anticipation. This was because they knew that they were going to be given the ultimate profound meaning. However, he did not see Mu Tianyang, Mu Qing and the demon ancestor. What's going on? Do we have to invite them personally? The white-eyed wolf was dissatisfied. They must think that they won't get a share. Therefore, they can't be bothered to join in the fun. Qin Feiyang shook his head and smiled. He looked at Xiao Shui and said, give me 10 of each ultimate profound meaning. Okay. Xiao Shui nodded. There were 10 of each type, so there were a few hundred of them in total. Qin Feiyang left the tea garden and walked towards the 2 courtyards after obtaining these hundreds of ultimate profound meanings. These 2 courtyards were the residences of the ancestral fiend trio. Mu Tianyang and Mu Qing lived together. The fiend ancestor lived alone. Are you there? Qin Feiyang stood in front of the demon alpha's courtyard. He looked at the closed door and smiled. A short while later, fiend ancestor opened the door and walked out suspiciously. Qin Feiyang entered the courtyard and looked at the courtyard next to it. He smiled and said, Mu Tianyang, Mu Qing, you two come out as well. What do you mean? The 2 of them walked out of the pavilion with a suspicious look on their faces. Qin Feiyang asked, don't you care about what's happening in the tea garden? I thought it was something else. Mu Tianyang was speechless. He turned around and prepared to enter the loft. Wasn't this wasting his precious time? Wait. Qin Feiyang hurriedly stopped Mu Tianyang and said unhappily, I've personally delivered the ultimate profound meanings to you. And you still have this attitude? What? Mu Tianyang was stunned. He turned his head and looked at Qin Feiyang suspiciously. Qin Feiyang waved his hand. The hundreds of ultimate profound meanings that Xiao Shui gave him immediately appeared. He looked at the three of them and said, pick whatever you want. This. The three of them looked at each other. Didn't he not count them? Originally, I didn't plan to give them to you, but there's no other way. I've obtained too many ultimate profound meanings this time. I thought about it a little. Anyway, it's a waste to keep them, so I might as well give them to you. Qin Feiyang chuckled. The three of them looked at Qin Feiyang in shock. Don't look at me like that. I'm a good person. Qin Feiyang bared his teeth. Hearing this, the three of them rolled their eyes. However, they were all smart people. Qin Feiyang's words were obviously teasing them. In other words, in fact, Qin Feiyang did count them in. It was just that at that time in the Soul Sealing Valley, he deliberately teased them. But they didn't know. At that time in the Soul Sealing Valley, he wasn't teasing them. He was testing them. Of course. Regarding this test, since the three of them didn't notice, Qin Feiyang didn't want to expose it. After all, some things were not good to expose. Thank you. This time Mu Tianyang and Mu Qing were all smiles. Moreover, they didn't know what was polite at all. They ran over and began to look for the ultimate profound meanings that they needed. Demon Ancestor glanced at the two of them, then looked at Qin Feiyang and asked, what about Dong Zhengyang? Qin Feiyang smiled and said, anyway, I have extra now. I don't need Ninth Master Ji's help. I'll send it to Dong Zhengyang later. That's good too. Even if Ninth Master Ji and the others have an inheritance, it will definitely be limited. Save as much as you can. Demon Ancestor nodded. Yes. Hurry up and pick one too. There's also a Molong's share. As for Zhang Xiaoyang and Guosweki, they don't need to master all the ultimate profound meanings. You guys can pick 6 ultimate profound meanings for them. Qin Feiyang smiled slightly. As soon as these words came out, the three of them couldn't help but be stunned. Demon Ancestor came back to his senses and asked, you mean Molong can also fuse all the ultimate profound meanings? Yes. After all, it's a partner that has gone through life and death with you. I believe that you also want to see it become stronger so that you can fight side by side with it in the future. Qin Feiyang nodded and smiled. Although it had been a long time since he saw Molong, it wasn't hard to imagine that Molong's current strength was definitely not that great. Looking at Demon Ancestor's current strength, it was getting stronger and stronger. In such a situation, not to mention fighting side by side in the future, he probably wasn't even qualified to be cannon fodder. When Demon Ancestor heard this, he took a deep breath and bowed. Thank you. It's fine. Qin Feiyang waved his hand and then said, as for Zhang Xiaoyang and Guosweki, I gave them the ultimate profound meanings and let them master Heaven's Will because I trust you guys. The meaning of these words was obvious. Giving them the ultimate profound meanings was to give them face. At the same time, I trust that you guys can restrain them well. Don't worry. Zhang Xiaoyang is quite a good person. Demon Ancestor chuckled, then looked at Mu Tianyang and said, however, this Guosweki. Mu Tianyang stared at Demon Ancestor, then looked at Qin Feiyang and said with a bitter smile, Guosweki does hate you, but now she feels more powerless in her heart. After all, your current strength is too strong. As for this woman, Qin Feiyang pondered for a moment and smiled, I just want to say that I can create her now and I can also destroy her in the future. Haha, Mu Tianyang laughed. Domineering enough. However, no one dared to doubt his words. At the same time, in Mu Tianyang's spatial divine item, Guosweki was sitting in a cultivation room. When she heard Qin Feiyang's words, there was a trace of fear that couldn't be removed. Although Qin Feiyang didn't know about her situation, she knew about Qin Feiyang's situation like the back of her hand. Looking at Qin Feiyang getting scarier by the day, to be honest, she had already given up on the idea of revenge. It wasn't that she wanted to give up, but she no longer had the courage to take revenge. In the courtyard, when Demon Ancestor and the other two found the ultimate profound they needed, Qin Feiyang didn't continue to stay. He kept the remaining ultimate profound and left the Black Tortoise world. He opened a space-time tunnel and quietly landed in front of the village. There was no one in the village. Were they still on the sea god's island? Just as he was about to step into the village, a barrier appeared and stopped him outside. Qin Feiyong smiled helplessly. He couldn't forcefully break the barrier, right? He then turned around and prepared to leave. However, at this moment, a young man pushed open the door and walked out. Qin Feiyong was slightly stunned. He raised his head and looked. Who else could it be but Dong Zhengyang? He asked, "You didn't follow Master Jiu and the others?" "No. Before leaving, they told me to stay in the secret room in the village to cultivate in seclusion." Dong Zhengyang smiled. With a wave of his hand, a crack opened in the barrier. Qin Feiyong walked in and said with a smile, "How does it feel to be here alone? Isn't it the same anywhere?" Dong Zhengyang shook his head and smiled. He asked, "Are you here to look for Master Jiu and the others?" "No. I'm here to look for you." Qin Feiyong took out the ultimate profound and said with a smile, "Pick whatever you want." "So many?" Dong Zhengyang was stunned. "Are there many?" "Let me tell you, there are more in the Black Tortoise world now." Qin Feiyong chuckled. "So Long Chun has agreed to help you?" Dong Zhengyang asked. Qin Feiyong nodded. "It's not easy. However, it also shows that this Long Chun is indeed not bad. You have to cherish this friend," Dong Zhengyang reminded. "I know." Qin Feiyong smiled slightly. As long as Long Chun didn't fall out with him, he would never fall out with him. "Then I won't stand on ceremony." Dong Zhengyang smiled and glanced at the ultimate profound in front of him. In the end, he took away the 5 ultimate profound laws. 5? Qin Feiyong was stunned. "Master Jiu and the others have already given me the inheritance of the ultimate profound laws of spacetime," Dong Zhengyang said. "I see." Qin Feiyong nodded in realization. This group of elders was indeed generous. Next, he found the ultimate profound laws of various ordinary laws, as well as the ultimate profound laws of nothingness and the ultimate profound laws of devour, and gave them to Dong Zhengyang. "Why are you giving me so many?" "As long as you can master the will of heaven." Dong Zhengyang was stunned. "It's fine. Anyway, I have more than enough now." Qin Feiyong smiled. Dong Zhengyang looked at him speechlessly and said, "Why do you look like a nouveau riche?" "It's also glorious to be a nouveau riche." Qin Feiyong chuckled and couldn't help but glance at the back of the mountain. Stop. Seeing this, Dong Zhengyang hurriedly turned Qin Feiyong's head and said, "You must not be tempted by the tea garden at the back of the mountain, or Master Jiu will really fight you to the death." Cough cough. Qin Feiyong coughed dryly and said with a smile, "It's because Long Chun has helped us so much, so I want to use this opportunity to thank him properly." "Don't you have divine tea now? If you want to thank him, just give him a few." Dong Zhengyang rolled his eyes. "How can I bear to? There are only a few dozen in total. Compared to Master Jiu's tea garden, it's not worth mentioning." Qin Feiyong shook his head. Dong Zhengyang was speechless. These people really treated tea as their life. Chapter 4163. Qin Feiyong rolled his eyes and asked, "You've been with Lord Nine for so long. Do you know what hobbies he has?" "Hobbies?" Dong Zhengyang lowered his head and pondered for a while. Then, he shook his head and said, "Other than playing chess and drinking tea, he doesn't have any other hobbies." "That's true. He's already so old. What other hobbies can he have?" Qin Feiyong nodded. "Don't think so much. No matter how you cater to his interests, he won't give you the tea trees. If you really want it, then do it openly. If he doesn't give it to you, then pester him. Because after this period of time, I found that although Lord Nine looks strong on the surface, he's actually quite soft-hearted." Dong Zhengyang smiled. "Pester him?" Qin Feiyong murmured and nodded with a smile. "Okay, I'll give it a try when Lord Nine comes back." "You're not going to leave?" Dong Zhengyang was stunned. "Why should I leave? Where else is safer than here? I'll go to the tea garden first." Qin Feiyong chuckled mischievously and ran towards the back of the mountain like a wisp of smoke. "Don't mess around." Dong Zhengyang hurriedly put away his ultimate meaning and followed him worriedly. The barrier not only covered the village but also the tea garden. Therefore, there was no independent barrier at the peak of the back mountain. The two entered the tea garden. Every time he thought of the tea trees here, he couldn't help but drool. let alone standing in the tea garden now. His impulsive little hands were somewhat uncontrollable. Dong Zhengyang kept staring at him vigilantly. Lord Nine asked him to stay in the village for 2 reasons. First, to cultivate diligently. Second, to take care of the village. If Qin Feiyang couldn't help but take away a few tea trees now, Lord Nine would definitely settle the score with him when he came back. He couldn't afford to take the blame. How long has it been? You're already siding with outsiders. Qin Feiyang looked at Dong Zhengyang speechlessly, guarding against him as if he was a thief. Cut it out. Dong Zhengyang rolled his eyes at him. Qin Feiyang rolled his eyes. With a thought, a young man in white appeared beside him. It was Long Chun. I'll go. Long Chun was a little confused at first, but when he saw the tea trees around him, his eyes lit up. Dong Zhengyang's eyelids twitched. He was ready to stop these 2 bandits at any time. Brother Long, how is it? Qin Feiyang chuckled. Unheard of, Long Chun exclaimed in surprise. He quickly noticed the 4 divine Bodhi trees and slowly walked over. He stretched out his hand and gently stroked a Bodhi leaf. His eyes were filled with infatuation. Long Chun, I'm warning you. Don't act recklessly. Dong Zhengyang said. Ah. Long Chun was stunned. He turned to look at Dong Zhengyang and asked, You're here too? Dong Zhengyang's expression froze. Could it be that before this, he had always been heir? Sorry, I didn't notice you before. Long Chun laughed dryly. All right. Dong Zhengyang was helpless. Was his presence so insignificant? He couldn't even compare to a few tea trees? Qin Feiyang smiled and said, Brother Long, why don't we cultivate in seclusion here? Long Chun was stunned and asked, Can we? Of course. As long as we don't act recklessly, will Lord Nine chase us away? Qin Feiyang nodded. Long Chun was stunned and said, From what you said, you're planning to stay here and not leave? Isn't this all for you? As the saying goes, where sincerity reaches, even metal and stone will split. As long as we persevere, Lord Nine will definitely be moved by us. Qin Feiyang chuckled. I think it's the spirit of shamelessness. Dong Zhengyang suddenly said. Qin Feiyang twitched the corner of his mouth and said with a dark face, Are we still brothers? I'm on the side of reason, not kinship. Dong Zhengyang pursed his lips. Long Chen's gaze swept over the tea garden. Very seriously, very solemnly, he nodded. Brother Qin's words are correct. Sincerity can move metal and stone. We have to use sincerity and perseverance to move Lord Jiu. It's over. Another one who has gone mad. Dong Zhengyang looked at the sky speechlessly. Was this divine tea really that attractive? During the time he was in the village, he saw these tea trees almost every day, but he didn't think it was that attractive. Then let's go. We'll cultivate in seclusion there. Qin Feiyang said with a smile. Next to the tea garden, there was a small wooden house with 2 floors. It was very simple and plain. This was where Lord Nine usually lived. The 3 of them walked to the front of the wooden house. Qin Feiyang waved his hand and set up a 5,000 years a day time array. It merged with the ground and immediately enveloped the entire wooden house. The 2 of them didn't know how to be polite. They ran to the 2nd floor and stood on the balcony, looking at the tea garden in front of them. It really felt like they were sitting on the world's most precious treasure. Dong Zhengyang followed with a speechless face. All right. There's something I have to report to you. Long Chun suddenly turned to look at Qin Feiyang and said with a smile. Report? Qin Feiyang was stunned. Yes. Previously in the Black Tortoise world, I asked little Qin to ask Xiao Shui for some ultimate profoundness. Long Chun smiled. Didn't I give you enough? Qin Feiyang was suspicious. Yes. Long Chun nodded. Then why do you still want it? Don't tell me there are other people hiding around you. Qin Feiyang looked at him suspiciously. How can that be? Back then, the white-eyed wolf personally went to my space divine item to check. Other than some medicinal herbs and tea trees, there was nothing else. Long Chun said with a smile. Qin Feiyang looked at Long Chun for a moment, shook his head and said with a smile, If you want it, would I dare to say no? He did not ask further. Although their relationship was very good now, it was better not to get to the bottom of some things. You're quite smart. Otherwise, it will be a little difficult to ask for my help in the future. Long Chun laughed. Qin Feiyong shook his head and could not help but laugh. Hence, the two of them sat cross-legged on the balcony and began to comprehend the laws. Seeing this, Dong Zhongyang also accompanied the two of them. After a while, Xiao Shui's voice rang in Qin Feiyong's mind. The ultimate profoundness has been distributed, and there are still many left. How should we deal with it? Leave it to Fire Lotus. Let her keep it for now. Qin Feiyong thought for a moment and transmitted his voice. Okay, there's one more thing. Long Qin came to me again and asked for a lot of ultimate profoundness. There are about 300 of them. Xiao Shui said again. I know about this. It's Long Qin's idea. Long Chan has already told me. Qin Feiyong responded in secret. That's good. If there's nothing else, I'll go into seclusion. Xiao Shui said. Okay. Qin Feiyong replied and suddenly asked in secret. Wait a minute. Are there any laws of light and darkness among the ultimate profoundness? Yes. But not many. Only 5. Xiao Shui replied. So few? Qin Feiyong was stunned. After all, the laws of light and darkness require the fusion of the laws of light and darkness. It's not easy. Xiao Shui said. It's not difficult to even master the laws of light and darkness. No wonder no one in the Divine Kingdom can comprehend the laws of life and death. How about this? Give me 2 of the laws of light and darkness. The remaining 3 will be given to Long Qin, White-Eyed Wolf, and senior brother Feng Zi. Qin Feiyong said. Okay. Xiao Shui nodded. Very soon, 2 clusters of intertwined black and white flames appeared in front of Qin Feiyong. The black side was like a bottomless black hole. The white side was like the wings of an angel, exuding a sacred aura. Long Chan and Dong Zhongyang opened their eyes and said in surprise, the laws of light and darkness. Yes. Qin Feiyong nodded and looked at Long Chan with a smile. We'll each take one. As for Brother Dong, I'm sorry. If I have the chance to meet you in the future, I'll give it to you. Look at what you're saying. I'm already very satisfied to be able to master the will of heaven. Dong Zhongyang waved his hand and smiled. Hundreds of thousands of Sea Clan people were captured by Qin Feiyong, White-Eyed Wolf and Long Qin. The ultimate profound was stripped by Long Chun with the soul control technique. He was just sitting back and enjoying the fruits of others' labor. If he wasn't satisfied with this, then he really had no conscience. And Qin Feiyong now only lacked the laws of light and darkness, the law of nothingness, and the law of devour. As long as he mastered these 3 supreme laws, as well as other ordinary laws, then he would have all the laws. Moreover, compared to Long Chan, Long Qin, Feng Zi, and White-Eyed Wolf, he had one more law, and that was the law of life and death. In other words, no matter what, as long as no one comprehended the law of life and death, then he was still the strongest. Time flew by. Half a month passed outside. In the early morning of this day, Qin Feiyong, who was in seclusion, suddenly opened his eyes and looked at the rising sun in the east. His eyes were full of surprise, because at this moment, he suddenly felt an inexplicable throbbing. What's wrong? Dong Zhongyang and Long Chun noticed Qin Feiyong's emotional fluctuations and opened their eyes one after another, looking at him suspiciously. Strange, Qin Feiyong shook his head. The throbbing in his heart became more and more intense. This feeling was very familiar to him, but it also seemed very strange. Wait a minute. Suddenly, his gaze trembled and he suddenly got up, his eyes flashing with dazzling brilliance. What's wrong with you? Long Chan and Dong Zhongyang were a little frightened. It's him. That's right. In this world, only he can give me this feeling. Qin Feiyong suddenly roared, hugging Dong Zhongyang and Long Chan in wild joy. The two looked at each other. What was going on? Why did Qin Feiyong, who had always been calm and collected, become like a child? Him. Who was this him? That's right, it must be him. He really didn't die. Qin Feiyong let go of the two, completely unaware of his gaffe, and once again looked to the east, his hands tightly clenched together. Didn't die? The two were stunned. Suddenly, Long Chun looked at Qin Feiyong and asked, Are you talking about the inner demons? Inner demons. Dong Zhongyang's gaze also trembled, and immediately looked at Qin Feiyong. Of course, he was no stranger to the inner demons. In the past, in Great Qin and the Forgotten Continent, the terrifying means of the inner demons were the nightmare of countless creatures. If it wasn't for the fact that in order to save Qin Feiyang, he entered the miracle alone to search for the ice dragon, the inner demon's current strength might be even more terrifying than Qin Feiyang. And now, looking at Qin Feiyang's surprised look, could it be that he had sensed the aura of the inner demons? Because between the original body and the inner demons, they could feel each other's existence. Chapter 4164. The inner demons are not dead. That's really good news. Long Chen smiled from the bottom of his heart. Because the inner demons were not dead, Lu Jijin was not dead either. As long as the two of them were not dead, there was hope for the grudge between Qin Feiyang and his father to be resolved. All these years in the Devil's Land, although he had been in seclusion and didn't have much contact with everyone, he could feel the harmonious atmosphere. There was no struggle, no ambition, unity and harmony. Moreover, whether it was a human or a ferocious beast, all of them were sentimental and righteous. In such a place, no matter who it was, as long as they slowly got along with each other, it would be difficult for them to give up. And such a group of people, he couldn't bear to hurt them. There was only one way to not hurt them: reconciliation. So at this moment, knowing that the inner demons were still alive, the joy in his heart was no less than Qin Feiyang's. This was sincere from the bottom of his heart. It's indeed good news. But why is he in the Divine Kingdom? Dong Zhongyang asked. Qin Feiyang calmed down and looked at Dong Zhongyang. You have to ask Brother Long's father. That year, the disappearance of the inner demons was related to Ice Dragon. The inner demons were now in the Divine Kingdom, which must be related to Ice Dragon. Dong Zhongyang looked at Long Chen. Don't look at me. I don't know anything. Long Chen smiled bitterly. Your son is a bit of a failure. Dong Zhongyang smiled mockingly. You can laugh all you want. Long Chen shook his head helplessly, pondered for a while and frowned. But there is one point that I don't understand. Dong Zhongyang asked, what you want to say is, why didn't Qin Feiyang sense the existence of the inner demons when he was in the Divine Kingdom? That's right. We've been in the Divine Kingdom for so long. If the inner demons were already in the Divine Kingdom, Brother Qin should have sensed the existence of the inner demons the moment he entered the Divine Kingdom. But why did I only sense it now? Long Chen frowned. Maybe he's in seclusion somewhere? Dong Zhongyang guessed. Even if they are in seclusion somewhere, it shouldn't affect their ability to sense each other. Long Chen's eyes flickered. He looked to the east and murmured, Neptune must have returned from the Central Dynasty. The east was where the East Continent was located. What do you mean? Dong Zhongyang and Qin Feiyang were stunned. What does Neptune's return from the Central Dynasty have to do with the appearance of the inner demons? But in the next moment, their gazes trembled. Could it be that the inner demons used to be in the Central Dynasty? That's impossible. The Central Dynasty was a place where even the monarch, the divine king, and the supremes of the human race couldn't enter freely. How could the inner demons be in the Central Dynasty? Can you sense the exact location of the inner demons? Long Chen looked at Qin Feiyang and asked. Yes. Qin Feiyang nodded and closed his eyes again. About 10 breaths later, suddenly, he opened his eyes and said, The Sea God's Island. The Sea God's Island? Long Chen and Dong Zhongyang looked at each other. At the same time, the Sea God's Island. The Sea God's Island was currently overcrowded. In the sky, Ninth Master Ji and a group of elders sat cross-legged in the void, exuding a murderous aura. Their existence was akin to that of gods. As long as they saw them, they would feel at ease and safe. During this period of time, the Oceanids were grateful to these elders. As for the dragon god, the monarch, and the other experts of the three races, they had all left, because these 15 elders were enough to deter everyone. Suddenly, a space-time passage appeared. The 15 elders immediately opened their eyes and looked at the space-time passage. These kids again? But in the next moment, a glint flashed across their eyes, because they had already sensed the aura of the newcomer. One of the aura was Neptune. In other words, Neptune had returned from the Central Dynasty. They were really looking forward to seeing who would come with Neptune to the East Continent. The senior members of the Oceanids and the island owners also sensed Neptune's aura. They all rose into the sky and welcomed Neptune with excitement. Finally, under everyone's gaze, a middle-aged man walked out of the space-time passage. It was Neptune. When Neptune appeared, he was stunned when he saw the senior members of the Oceanids and the island owner, Hai Yunchuan. What was going on? Why were the island owners on the sea god's island? Soon, when he saw Ninth Master Ji and the others, his body suddenly stiffened. Why were these elders on the sea god's island? Were they here to welcome the people from the Central Dynasty? But there was no news in advance. Would the Central Dynasty send people to the East Continent with him? Lord Neptune, Hai Yunchuan was about to speak. What's the matter? Let's talk later. Neptune waved his hand and turned to look at the space-time passage with a respectful expression. Seeing this, everyone looked at the space-time passage. Ninth Master Ji and the other elders looked at each other curiously. Whoosh! Immediately, an old man with white hair walked out of the passage. The old man was stooped and his face was old. He held a white dragon-head walking stick in his hand and wore a white robe. He looked very weak, and his eyes were cloudy as if he had one foot in the coffin. This was a very inconspicuous old man. Even behind him there was no sense of danger. But it was this old man that made the Sea King extremely respectful. After the old man with white hair came out, a group of young men and women walked out of the passage one after another. There were a total of 10 people. The man had a dignified appearance and was extraordinarily handsome. The woman was tall and slender, and had a heavenly beauty. Anyway, each of them had an extraordinary temperament. They were like cranes in a flock of chickens. It's them. Ninth Master Ji and the other elders looked at two of them and narrowed their eyes slightly. These two people were tall and straight. One had black hair like a waterfall and an ethereal temperament. The other had bloody hair and a bloody aura all over his body. But they were wearing masks on their faces and their faces couldn't be seen clearly. Only their eyes could be seen. The black-haired youth's eyes were like two dark black holes, frightening people's souls. The eyes of the red-haired youth were like condensed blood. One could even vaguely see an endless sea of blood and millions of corpses in his eyes. The East Continent. We're back again. The two young men looked at each other with a trace of a smile in their eyes. But the other 8 young men and women had a trace of curiosity between their eyebrows. At the same time, they looked at the Sea Clan in front of them with a natural arrogance. It was as if these Sea Clan members were ants in their eyes. Greetings, lords. Under Neptune's instructions, Hai Yunchuan and the others bowed and saluted. Rise. The white-haired old man smiled hoarsely and glanced at the Sea Clan members. Finally, his eyes fell on Ninth Master Ji and the others. He smiled and said, "Old friend, long time no see. How are you? I was wondering who it was. So it's you, old man." Ninth Master Ji smiled. The white-haired old man said, "It's been almost 1,000,000 years since we last met. I didn't expect you to still remember this old man. How can we forget you?" Ninth Master Ji smiled. But there was a trace of murderous intent under his smile. And he didn't hide his murderous intent. The white-haired old man and the other 10 young men and women could clearly sense it. But to this, the group of people didn't take it seriously. But the other Sea Clan members were a bit confused. Did Ninth Master Ji have a grudge against this lord of the Central Dynasty? Where are the sea gods? Why didn't they come to welcome the lord of the Central Dynasty? Neptune glanced at the people in front of him and couldn't help but frown. Hearing this, Hai Yunchuan and the others' eyes dimmed and their faces were filled with anger. What's going on? Neptune also had a bad feeling in his heart. Since Neptune is back, then we'll take our leave. Ninth Master Ji said and opened a tunnel. Thank you. Goodbye, seniors. The senior members of the Sea Clan bowed and sent them off. The more Neptune looked at them, the more confused he became. After the seniors left, Neptune immediately looked at the senior members and frowned. What's going on? Why are they on the sea god's island? And why are there so many of them? Lord, please punish us. The senior members looked at each other and knelt in front of Neptune. Seeing this, the white-haired old man and the 10 young men also had a suspicious look. Speak. Looking at these people, Neptune felt even more uneasy. It's the dragon god in Qin Feiyang. Hai Yunchuan shouted angrily. What do you mean? Neptune frowned. Not long after you left, Qin Feiyang brought the golden-winged wolf king and Long Qin to the sea god's island. 2/3 of the people on the sea god's island were taken away by them. All 19 sea gods fell into their hands and we don't know if they're still alive. Hearing this, Neptune's face turned pale. And then, Qin Feiyang and the other two appeared on other islands and took away millions of our people. Lord Neptune, it's all our fault. We didn't protect our people. Please punish us. The senior members lowered their heads and their faces were full of hatred for the dragon god and Qin Feiyang. Bastard! Neptune was furious. What does this have to do with the dragon god? Hai Yunchuan said angrily. The dragon god told Qin Feiyang that you were in the Central Dynasty. What? Neptune's face froze. That's impossible. How could the dragon god do such a thing? The white-haired old man couldn't believe it. But other than the dragon god, even the king, the divine king, and the human lord didn't know that Neptune was in the Central Dynasty. If it wasn't the dragon god, who else could it be? Hai Yunchuan looked at the white-haired old man and questioned. The white-haired old man frowned. He didn't expect that something like this would happen when Neptune was in the Central Dynasty. The dragon god, Neptune whispered. Lord. This time, if it weren't for the human race, the god race, and the purple-gold divine dragon race, the oceanic race would have been wiped out. Someone sighed. The dragon god asked, so, Boss G and the others were here to protect the sea god's island? Yes. They've been on the sea god's island all this time to protect us. Everyone nodded. 2 more. Release before 11 o'clock. Chapter 4165. So that's how it is. I knew these old guys wouldn't be so kind as to welcome us. The white-haired old man laughed with a hoarse voice. Neptune glanced at the white-haired old man, not in the mood to laugh at all. Sir, we didn't protect our clansmen well, but the dragon god betraying us is even more unforgivable. Sir, please kill the dragon god and avenge our clansmen. A group of higher-ups angrily roared. The countless seafolk on the island below were also filled with killing intent. Neptune was silent. Actually, he didn't believe that the dragon god would betray him. But in the current situation, the dragon god had already caused public anger. If he helped the dragon god at this time, his clansmen would also be dissatisfied with him. What exactly is going on here? Indeed, only the dragon god knew about his trip to the Central Dynasty. Wait a minute. Omniscient Eye. Could it be that Mu Qing used the omniscient eye to spy on his whereabouts? With that thought, Neptune looked at the white-haired old man and asked, Yu Lao, how about you rest on the sea god's island for a bit? All right. The white-haired old man nodded, then looked at the 10 young men and women behind him and laughed with a hoarse voice. It's rare for you to leave the Central Dynasty. Take this chance to take a stroll. All right. The 10 of them nodded. Hearing that, Neptune looked at the 10 of them and said, If that's the case, you can take the sea god's badge and go in and out of the cities. It'll be more convenient. Saying so, Neptune took out 10 golden badges. Each of them was the size of a baby's palm, with the word sea carved on the front and the picture of the sea god on the back. The 10 of them grabbed the badges and looked at them curiously, then left in groups of 2s and 3s, opening a space-time tunnel and leaving with curious expressions. However, just as the 2 masked young men were about to enter the space-time tunnel, the blood-robed young man suddenly looked up at the void of space in the distance. What's wrong? The black-haired young man was suspicious. Nothing. The blood-robed young man waved his hand and smiled, then entered the space-time tunnel without looking back. At the same time, in the distance above the ocean, the black tortoise world was hidden in the void. Qin Feiyang, Long Chan, and Dong Zhongyang stood side by side as they looked at the sea god's island on the screen. To be exact, they were looking at the blood-red-clothed youth and the black-clothed youth. That's right. It's them. Qin Feiyang was very excited. Although both of them were wearing masks, their auras were all too familiar. She would never forget it. It was the inner demons and big cousin. Dong Zhongyang also recognized the two, and his face was full of joy. He had the Eye of Destiny, and he had always believed that the inner demons and Lu Jijin couldn't possibly die. Especially Lu Jijin. The fate of the owner of the Eye of Nothingness had long been determined. He would be with everyone and face the future calamity together. The inner demons seemed to have sensed your existence. Longchen smiled. Yes. Qin Feiyang nodded. Because before they left, the inner demons glanced in their direction. You should be able to sense the inner demon's location now. Let's go and take a look. Let's find a chance to meet them, Dong Jungyang said. Okay. Qin Feiyang nodded. He and the inner demons could sense each other. Therefore, no matter where the inner demons went, he would be able to find them. On the Dragon God Mountain, Neptune headed straight for this place. You're finally back. The Dragon God, who was sitting alone in the pavilion, sensed Neptune's arrival and immediately stood up to welcome him. What's going on with you? You fell into the hands of this Qin Feiyang again. Neptune furrowed his eyebrows. How would I know? Now, I'm a spy in the eyes of the various races, especially the sea race. When they see me as an enemy. The Dragon God looked irritated. Don't worry. I believe you. Neptune consoled him. What's the use of you believing me? What I need is the trust of the various races. The Dragon God sighed. I'm afraid it's very difficult to make everyone believe me now. Unless Qin Feiyang personally admits that this matter has nothing to do with you. But it's easier said than done to make him admit it personally. He's framed you time and time again. His goal is to sow discord between the various races. Actually, I've already guessed how he found out about me going to the Central Dynasty. I think it must be Mu Qing's all-seeing eye. Neptune said in a low voice. Yes. How could I have forgotten about this? The Dragon God slapped his head. It must be all-seeing eye. Little did they know that this was just their wishful thinking. They also didn't know that when they were discussing this matter, Qin Feiyang and the others were standing at the side. Although we know it's all-seeing eye, the people below won't believe it. Just bear with it for now. This time Yu Lao from the Central Dynasty personally led people to help us. I think with his strength he must have a way to resolve this. Neptune said. Yu Lao. The Dragon God's gaze trembled. Then I have to quickly pay him a visit. It's better if you don't go to the Sea God Island. Wait for Yu Lao to rest for 2 days. I'll bring him to your Dragon God Mountain and we'll have a discussion there. Neptune said. What? I don't even have the qualifications to step into the Sea God Island now. The Dragon God was furious. No. Right now the people below hate you to the bone. If you go to the Sea God Island now, they will definitely speak rudely to you. Can you bear such humiliation? So I'm doing this for your own good. Neptune comforted him. All right. The Dragon God sighed helplessly. A trace of killing intent suddenly appeared in his eyes. He said resentfully, it's all Qin Feiyang's fault. Sooner or later I will skin them alive. West Continent Human Race. A huge city was located on a plain in the north. There were more than 10 million people in the city. Outside the city on a mountain peak, 3 silhouettes appeared without a sound. It was Qin Feiyang and the other 2. Under Qin Feiyang's perception, the inner demons were in this city. But now the cities in the West Continent were heavily guarded. It was as difficult as ascending to the heavens to sneak in without being noticed. Don't worry. The inner demons should be able to sense that you are outside the city now, so they may take the initiative to look for you. Long Chan comforted him. He could understand Qin Feiyang's mood at this moment. But some things couldn't be rushed. However, after a while the inner demons still didn't come out of the city. Under Qin Feiyang's perception, the inner demons had been staying somewhere in the city. No, I have to enter the city. Qin Feiyang took out an illusory appearance pill and prepared to change his appearance. Wait a minute. Long Chan stopped Qin Feiyang and said with a smile, send a message to the human race's supreme being first. What's wrong? Qin Feiyang was suspicious. You will know when the time comes. Long Chan smiled. All right. Qin Feiyang glanced around. Seeing that there was no one around, he took out a voice transmission stone. Buzz. Soon. The phantom of the human race's supreme being appeared. Have you also received the news that the people of the Central Dynasty have arrived? The human race's supreme being looked at the 3 of them and asked. We didn't receive the news. We saw it with our own eyes. Long Chan smiled slightly. What? You are now on the Sea God Island. The human race's supreme being was shocked. These little fellows are too daring, aren't they? We were before but not now. Well, Senior, we are now in a bit of trouble and need your help. Long Chen smiled. You will also encounter trouble? The human race's supreme being was very surprised. Hearing this, Long Chen couldn't help but smile bitterly. We are also mortals, and the omnipotent ones are gods. The human race's supreme being laughed. Tell me, what do you want me to help you with? Give us an enforcer's identity token. This way we won't have to be checked when we go in and out of the major cities. Long Chen smiled. Qin Feiyang and Dong Zhengyang looked at each other. So this was the reason why they were looking for the human race's supreme being. Indeed, if they disguised themselves as Mount Supreme's enforcers, they would indeed be able to freely enter and exit the major cities. But the human race's supreme being was a bit hesitant. Don't worry. If our identities are still exposed in the end, we will announce to the public that we were the ones who killed your Mount Supreme's enforcers and impersonated them. We won't implicate you. Long Chen knew the human race's supreme being's concerns and promised. If that's the case, then there won't be a problem. Tell me the location, I will personally deliver it to you. The human race's supreme being smiled. He could only make this trip personally, because his subordinates still didn't know that he had formed an alliance with Qin Feiyang. And because of the spy incident, he didn't dare to easily trust anyone around him. The human race's supreme being came to the mountain peak and gave the three of them a few enforcers' tokens. Moreover, he also gave them a few sets of enforcers' clothes. The enforcers of Mount Supreme would usually wear the same clothes when carrying out missions. Are you planning to enter this city? The human race's supreme being looked at the city in front of him and asked. Yes. The three of them nodded. What are you going to do in the city? If we are really discovered, it will be quite difficult for me because at that time I will have to send people to kill you. The human race's supreme being frowned. Long Chen glanced at Qin Feiyang and said with a smile, there's something important. Seeing that Long Chen didn't say anything, the human race's supreme being said helplessly, all right, I won't ask anymore. Be careful. Okay. Long Chen nodded. The human race's supreme being opened the space-time tunnel and left. Qin Feiyang and the other two quickly changed their clothes and changed their appearances. They wore the tokens on their waists and looked at each other. Clothes make the man and saddles make the horse. Wearing the enforcer's uniform, they really did look like enforcers. Then, the three of them soared into the sky and flew towards the city in a grand manner. However, although they were disguised as enforcers now, they couldn't pass through the city gate. Because the city gate had heaven's eye stones. Once they entered the city gate, their identities would be exposed immediately. Therefore, they had to fly directly into the city from above the city wall. The three of you stop, but when they entered the sky above the city wall, the guard guarding the city gate immediately shouted. But when he raised his head and saw the three's clothes and the tokens on their waists, his expression changed. What's the matter? Qin Feiyang stopped and stared at the guards below. His expression was somewhat gloomy and stern. No, I thought someone was going to barge into the city. The guard quickly waved his hand, his eyes filled with fear. The enforcers of Mount Supreme had the power to kill and couldn't be offended. Chapter 4166. All right. Guard the city gate well. Don't let anyone suspicious go. Qin Feiyang said coldly, then turned around and rushed into the city without looking back. That was close. Watching the three of them leave, the guard patted his chest with lingering fear. He had no doubt about the identity of the three. Entering the city, the three of them landed on the street, swaggered along the street, and walked into a restaurant. When the waiter of the restaurant saw the three of them, he immediately went up to them and said in fear, "Is there anything important for you to visit our restaurant?" Qin Feiyang glanced around the hall. Soon, he saw the inner demons and Lu Jijin in a corner. The excitement in his heart couldn't be any greater. At the same time, Long Chen also glanced at the inner demons, then looked at the waiter and said with a smile, "Don't be nervous, we're just here to drink." I see. The waiter breathed a sigh of relief and said with a flattering smile, "There's a private room upstairs. I'll arrange it right away." "No need. I think it's over there." Long Chen pointed to the table next to the inner demons. The waiter was stunned and quickly said, "There are too many people in the hall. It's too noisy. I'm afraid to disturb the three of you. But before he finished speaking, Qin Feiyong stared at him directly. Okay. The waiter suddenly panicked and quickly nodded. I'll clean it up right away. After saying that, he ran over to wipe the table. Qin Feiyong and the other two also walked over. In the hall, it was indeed noisy because there were more than a dozen tables of guests. But as they sat at the table, it immediately quieted down. Everyone's eyes were filled with fear. But the two masked young men next to them seemed not to see it and continued to drink. After a while, the waiter came over with good wine and dishes. After the waiter left, Qin Feiyong and the other two also drank as if nothing had happened. It seemed that they were waiting for the other party to speak first. Time passed by little by little. Qin Feiyong finally couldn't help but send a voice transmission. Is it you? His voice was a little trembling. The two masked youths were stunned. They turned to look at Qin Feiyong and asked suspiciously, Brother, are you talking to us? This reaction caused Qin Feiyong to be rather surprised. If he could sense the inner demons, it was impossible for the inner demons not to sense him. No matter how he changed his appearance, they should know it was him. But now his tone was completely that of a stranger. Don't worry. Let me talk to them first. Long Chen comforted Qin Feiyong, because he knew that Qin Feiyong must be a bit confused at this moment. As for the inner demons, they came from the Central Dynasty, so they didn't know anything about them. Therefore, it was better to be vigilant. Hence, Long Chen picked up his wine glass, stood up and walked to the opposite side of the inner demons. He smiled and said, Gentlemen, may I sit down? You are? The black-clothed youth raised his head and looked at him in confusion. This voice, Qin Feiyong's eyes trembled. This was his big cousin's voice. Long Chen pointed to the token on his waist and smiled. I am the enforcer of Mount Supreme. Enforcer? The two looked at the token. The black-haired youth smiled and said, What's the matter? Nothing big. I just feel that the two of you are a bit familiar. Long Chen smiled. We are all wearing masks and you still feel that we are familiar? I really admire your eyesight. The blood-clothed youth said with a smile. At this moment, Qin Feiyong's arm trembled again, and the wine in the cup spilled out. Because this voice was the voice of the inner demons. There was no mistake. Whether it was the inner demons or his big cousin, their voices didn't change much from before. Dong Zhengyang was also secretly paying attention to the two. His eyes flickered, because he recognized the two's voices. Long Chen glanced at the inner demons and chuckled. To be honest, I just feel that the masks on your faces are a bit familiar. The masks are a bit familiar? Hearing Long Chen's words, the others in the hall couldn't help but look at the inner demons. Don't say. It really does seem a bit familiar. The two of you, Qin Feiyong and his group, are currently wreaking havoc in our divine kingdom, and the two of you are wearing masks, which makes you seem a bit mysterious. So please cooperate with the inspection. Long Chen spoke again. The smile on his face disappeared, and his eyes were slightly cold. Cooperate with the inspection? You are just an enforcer. Do you have the right? Look at what this is. The blood-clothed youth smiled in disdain. He took out a token and slammed it on the table. See, got token. The hall suddenly became noisy. Their eyes were filled with respect. To be able to have the See got token, he was no ordinary person. Wait. I remember. They seemed to be the two mysterious young men who appeared out of nowhere and suppressed the geniuses of various clans. Suddenly, someone exclaimed. What? They are the mysterious young men who suppressed the geniuses of various clans. Qin Feiyong and Dong Zhengyang looked at each other, their eyes full of disbelief. So the inner demons and Lu Jijin had already entered the divine kingdom 1,000 years ago? Long Chen pretended to recall for a moment. Suddenly, a look of realization appeared on his face. He looked at the two of them and said, I was wondering why they looked a bit familiar. Turns out to be you. Now, do you still doubt our identity? The blood-clothed youth laughed. I wouldn't dare. However, the origins of the two of you are truly a bit surprising. You are actually from the Sea tribe. Long Chen smiled. Who told you that we are from the Sea tribe? The inner demons looked at Long Chen with interest. If you are not from the Sea tribe, how can you have the Sea God token? Long Chen asked back. If you have the Sea God token, you must be from the Sea tribe? Your logic is a bit ridiculous. The inner demons pursed his lips with a hint of mockery. Where are those two from? What is their relationship with the sea tribe? Longchun was curious. Where are we from? The two of them looked at each other. The inner demon shook his head and sneered. Your question is really quite stupid. Of course we are from the human clan like you. As for our relationship with the sea tribe, it is a long story. We don't need to report to you. If there is nothing else, don't disturb us from drinking. Okay. Sorry to disturb you. Longchun smiled apologetically and returned to Qin Feiyang's side. He asked through voice transmission, did you notice anything strange from them? Qin Feiyang and Dong Zhongyang pondered. Suddenly, light flashed in their eyes. There were hints. The first hint was about their origins. The inner demon said that they were from the human clan like them. This same did not refer to the West Continent, nor the human clan of the Divine Kingdom. It was a hint that they came from the same place. That was the Great Qin. The second hint was when Longchun asked them what their relationship with the sea tribe was. The inner demon's answer was complicated. This was a long story, but it contained a deep meaning. What he meant was that he had his own difficulties. In other words, the inner demons admitted their identity through this hint, and they couldn't admit it now because they had other difficulties. It seems that Brother Qin hasn't lost his mind. Longchun laughed secretly. Qin Feiyang rolled his eyes at him. His mind was indeed a little chaotic before, but now he had calmed down. Since the inner demons and big cousin were unwilling to admit it now, he would wait and see. Maybe they really had some difficulties. At this time, two middle-aged men walked in, sat next to them, and shouted, "Waiter, 2 pots of wine." Okay. The waiter nodded and walked over quickly with 2 pots of wine. The two men raised their heads and drank half of the wine in one gulp. One of them put down the wine pot and shook his head. Qin Feiyang and his group have really stirred up trouble in the Divine Kingdom. Huh. Hearing this, everyone was stunned and turned to look at the two men. Brother, what do you mean? Longchun also looked at the two men curiously. Law enforcers. The two middle-aged men were stunned. They turned to look at Qin Feiyang and the other two, and their faces suddenly changed. Don't be nervous. Longchun waved his hand and smiled. He asked, from what you said just now, did Qin Feiyang and his group make a big noise again? No, they didn't. There's news that the people of the Central Dynasty are here. The middle-aged man smiled obsequiously. The Central Dynasty. Everyone's eyes trembled. That's right. I heard that the Central Dynasty is specifically targeting Qin Feiyang and his group this time. And there's another news. Neptune personally said that he wants Qin Feiyang to go to the East Continent for a talk. The two middle-aged men said one after another. Neptune wants Qin Feiyang to go to the East Continent for a talk? Everyone was stunned. What did that mean? It's obvious. Neptune wants to negotiate with Qin Feiyang to rescue the sea gods and millions of people. Tell me the truth. I really admire the courage of Qin Feiyang and his group to go against these big shots. The two middle-aged men shook their heads and sighed. Yeah. First, it was Mount Supreme of the human race, then the divine island of the gods, then the dragon god mountain of the beasts, and now the sea god island of the oceanic race. And each time they can inflict heavy losses on the major races. The most important thing is that they always manage to escape. I really don't know how they do it. People immediately began to talk with disbelief on their faces. They won't be arrogant for long. All of a sudden, the inner demons laughed and got up to pay the bill. Then he left with Lu Jijin without looking back. Everyone was stunned as they looked at the backs of the two people. They disappeared for so long and now they suddenly reappeared. Is it because of Qin Feiyang and his group? I'm afraid so. After all, they are the heavenly talents of the Divine Kingdom. As heavenly talents, they must be unconvinced when they meet arrogant people like Qin Feiyang. At the same time, Qin Feiyang and the other two looked at each other, got up to pay the bill and left. After the three of them left, the people in the restaurant were no longer restrained and their discussions became more unscrupulous. And the people on the street were also talking about it. Moreover, soon another piece of news spread like crazy. A group of people appeared out of thin air in the 4 great continents and said that they wanted to challenge Qin Feiyang and his group. Qin Feiyang and the other two walked on the street and listened silently for a while. Then they opened a space-time passage and returned to the back mountain of the village. At this moment, in front of the wooden building, an old man was looking at the wooden building suspiciously. Why was there a time array here? Did he go to the wrong place? But no, this was indeed his home. This old man was Jijio. After returning from the sea god island, a group of old men gathered together to discuss something. But suddenly they found that Dong Zhongyang had disappeared. So Jijio came to the back mountain to take a look. As soon as he entered the tea garden, he sensed the aura of a time array. He thought that Dong Zhongyang was in the house, but when he entered the house there was no trace of Dong Zhongyang at all. Dong Zhongyang had disappeared. There was another time array here. What was going on? Whoosh! However, when Qin Feiyang and the other two came together and appeared on the balcony on the second floor together, Jijio knew what was going on, and he immediately put on a defensive posture. Chapter 4167. Master Jiao. As soon as Qin Feiyang appeared and saw Lord Jiao standing in front of the wooden building, a smile immediately appeared on his face. He asked even though he already knew the answer, "You've returned from the Sea God's Island? Why didn't you inform us in advance? We could have gone to welcome you." One who is unaccountably solicitous is hiding evil intentions. Master Jiao snorted coldly, then turned around and scanned the tea garden. "Do you not trust us that much?" Qin Feiyang said with grievance. "Don't count me and Longchen in. The old master doesn't trust you." Dong Zhongyang reminded. The corner of Qin Feiyang's mouth twitched. A moment later, Master Jiao heaved a sigh of relief. None of the tea trees in the tea garden were missing. Then, he looked at Qin Feiyang and said, "What are you doing here?" "This." Qin Feiyang rolled his eyes and pulled Longchen with a smile. "Let me introduce you. This is my good brother, Longchen, and also Longqin's elder brother." Master Jiao looked at Longchen. "Hello, senior." Longchen smiled slightly and said politely, "You're welcome." Master Jiao's expression eased a lot, and he said with a smile, "Your name is like thunder to this old man's ears." No. Longchen waved his hand modestly. "Don't be modest. In today's world, only your God's domain can really restrain the 3,000 incarnations. You don't know yet, do you? Now, as long as the young people in our clan mention you, they will change their expression. They all regard you as the biggest enemy of the Purple Gold Divine Dragon clan." Master Jijio chuckled. Indeed, at present, the only method that could really restrain the 3,000 incarnations was Longchen's God's domain. As for the Dragon God and Neptune, although their origin energy could restrain the 3,000 incarnations, in a sense it couldn't be considered a restraint. Ha! Hearing this, Longchen was quite embarrassed. "Tell me the truth. When I first heard about the God's domain, I was also shocked. How could someone activate such a fighting soul? Fortunately, we are not enemies now," Jijio said with a smile. "It's all because of your righteousness that we were able to turn enemies into friends." These words were not false at all. If it weren't for the decisiveness of this group of elders, the monarch would probably still be hesitating. Jijio was taken aback. He shook his head and said with a smile, "Young man, you really know how to talk?" "It's the truth." Longchen's flattery made Jijio very happy. He then asked, "Do you know the current situation of the Divine Sea Island?" "I know." Qin Feiyang nodded. "You know?" Master Jijio was taken aback. He had received the news so quickly? Everyone is talking about it now. Someone from the Central Dynasty has also issued a challenge to me. I really don't understand. Don't these people know how to keep a low profile? Qin Feiyang shook his head. Even you know how to keep a low profile? Jijio was speechless. He really wanted to ask if Jijio had ever kept a low profile after coming to the Divine Kingdom. "I was forced by the situation. If the situation allows, I don't want to show my face at all." Qin Feiyang said helplessly. Yes. You were forced by us." Jijio rolled his eyes and asked, "So what are you going to do now? Do you plan to?" Qin Feiyang pondered for a while and shook his head. "I don't have any plans. Let them be if they want to clamor." "What about the sea gods and the millions of Oceanids?" Jijio asked. "Well, Let's talk about it after I come out of seclusion. Qin Feiyang smiled faintly. He was not in a hurry to deal with this matter at all. You want to go into seclusion? Jijiu looked at him suspiciously. Not only had this kid comprehended the ultimate profundity of the law of life and death, but he had also mastered 2 wills of the heavenly Tao. Did he still need to go into seclusion? Yes. How can you make yourself stronger if you don't go into seclusion? Qin Feiyang chuckled. That makes sense. But now that your strength has reached the peak, what are you going to cultivate in seclusion? Jijiu was puzzled. You can comprehend other laws. Our plan is to master the ultimate mysteries of all the laws in the world, Qin Feiyang said with a smile. Jijiu was stunned. This dream was really ambitious. However, it was easier said than done. Thinking back to his life after countless years, he had only comprehended these ultimate mysteries of the strongest laws. But we'll stay here when we go into seclusion. Don't drive us away. Qin Feiyang bared his teeth. What? You want to go into seclusion with me? Jijiu immediately became vigilant. He was definitely up to no good. You don't welcome us? Qin Feiyang asked. Of course, you don't welcome us. Jijiu snorted coldly. I can't wait for you to get lost now so that you don't have to worry about me all day. I'm so sad. Qin Feiyang lowered his head and sighed. Originally, I wanted to stay here and take good care of you, but now that you said that, Stop. Jijiu couldn't stand it anymore and said with a dark face, Don't put on a sad show with me here. Just tell me, what's your purpose? No purpose. Really? Let's talk about it later. You've already given me dozens of tea trees. If I still have other thoughts, am I still human? Qin Feiyang smiled flatteringly. Stop. Don't be so glib with me. Jijiu rubbed his forehead. When he thought of those dozens of tea trees, he couldn't help but feel distressed. But now he actually said that he was the one who gave them to him? Please calm down. Anger hurts your liver. Qin Feiyang hurriedly stepped forward and patted Jijiu's back gently. It hurts my liver because you're angry. Jijiu glared at him and said helplessly, Okay, I can let you stay, but I'll say the ugly words first. Don't have any other thoughts. Don't worry. We'll definitely behave. Qin Feiyang immediately patted his chest and promised, I believe in Dong Zhongyang and Long Chen's rules, but I'll give you 2 words, haha. Jijiu's face was full of disdain. Qin Feiyang smiled awkwardly. This great-grandfather of his was really quite displeased with him now. Jijiu sighed helplessly. He could only be considered unlucky to have met this kid. Then, he looked at Dong Zhongyang and asked, Have you integrated the inheritance I gave you? Yes. Dong Zhongyang nodded. Then wait a moment. I'll go to Big Brother and get another inheritance. After saying that, Jijiu was ready to go down the mountain. Don't. Thank you for your kindness, Jijiu, but now I don't need it anymore. You'd better keep it for yourselves and give it to the descendants who will need it in the future. Dong Zhongyang said. What do you mean? Jijiu was stunned and looked at him suspiciously. Dong Zhongyang and Qin Feiyang looked at each other and smiled. Brother Qin has already given me all the ultimate mysteries. What? Jijiu looked at the 2 of them in shock. All the ultimate mysteries? Did he hear it wrong? Yes. The various supreme laws and the various ordinary laws are all present, Yi Futian said. Dong Zhongyang nodded. Hearing this, Jijiu took a deep breath and looked at Qin Feiyang. Where did you get so many inheritances? Well, if you give me dozens of tea trees, I'll tell you. Qin Feiyang chuckled. Get lost. Jijiu's face immediately darkened. Sure enough, he was still coveting his tea garden. No. He couldn't let a wolf into his house. Don't misunderstand, I'm just joking. Qin Feiyang noticed that something was wrong with Jijiu's eyes. He immediately smiled flatteringly and said, It's all thanks to Long Chen, but this matter has to be kept a secret for the time being. Jijiu looked at Long Chen again. Long Chen just smiled mysteriously. Okay, I won't ask. Jijiu glanced at the 2 of them and shook his head. Since you're going to stay here, let's go down and say hello to everyone first. It just so happens that your other great-grandfathers and great-grandmothers are also very interested in Long Chen. Okay. Qin Feiyang nodded. Then, the 3 of them followed Jijiu and flew down the mountain. See Seeing Qin Feiyang coming down from the back mountain, Boshji and the other elders couldn't help but be stunned. When they introduced Long Chan, the group of elders also praised him. The four great continents. It was quite lively during this period of time. Firstly, it was because of the grudge between Qin Feiyang and the Sea tribe. Secondly, it was because of the 10 great prodigies from the Central Dynasty. Not only did these prodigies issue a challenge to Qin Feiyang, but they also entered the clans of the various races in a high-profile manner. Mount Supreme. That morning 2 figures descended in the sky. Who is it? The 10 sovereigns guarding Mount Supreme immediately rushed into the sky. When they saw who it was, a trace of suspicion appeared on their faces. They were 2 young men wearing masks. One had black hair like a waterfall and the other had red hair. It was the inner demons and Lu Jiajin. Lu Jiajin crossed his arms and remained silent. The inner demons glanced at the 10 sovereigns and laughed. Lord Sovereigns, how many years has it been? You don't remember us? It's you. The 10 sovereigns took a closer look and their pupils immediately shrank. They immediately recalled the scene from 1,000 years ago. Back then, just like today, the 2 of them directly charged into Mount Supreme and swept through all the prodigies there. It seems that the sovereigns have a good memory. I wonder if the prodigies of Mount Supreme have improved after all these years? The inner demons looked down at the mountains and rivers below, a bloody light flashing in his eyes. The 10 sovereigns looked at each other and frowned. Are they here to challenge the prodigies of Mount Supreme again? The inner demons smirked and shouted, "Those who lost to us before, don't hide in your cave abodes. Come out quickly. Bastard! What are you so arrogant for?" Before he finished, a group of young men and women angrily rushed into the sky along with a few angry shouts. The blue-haired young man Wang Feng, the red-clothed woman Luo Dan, and the black-clothed young man Lu Sheng. These people who lost to Qin Feiyang and the others were also among them. The inner demons looked at them one by one and was slightly stunned. He said suspiciously, "I remember there's someone called Zhao Hong, right? Why don't I see him? Could it be that he's scared out of his wits and doesn't dare to come out?" When the group heard this, their faces were filled with anger. Especially the 10 sovereigns. Killing intent flowed out from their eyes. However, this killing intent wasn't targeted at the inner demons and Lu Jiajin. It was targeted at Qin Feiyang and Mu Qing. The rumors can't be true, right? Zhao Hong was killed by Mu Qing's people? The inner demons asked. Remaining 2 chapters released before 11 o'clock. Chapter 4168. Why did he have to rub salt into their wounds? Back then, Zhao Hong was killed by Mu Qing with the flame magic sword. And it happened at Mount Supreme. After that, many creatures in the West continent talked about them behind their backs. So, they didn't want to think about it because it was humiliating. But now, the inner demons tore open their wounds mercilessly, so they were naturally furious. It's true. TSK. How embarrassing. Although this Zhao Hong is indeed trash, he managed to last 2 rounds against me back then. Never would I have thought that he would actually die at the hands of trash like Mu Qing. The inner demon snickered. How dare you? Wang Feng was furious. He took a step forward and charged into the sky. The laws of time, the laws of gold, and the laws of earth were activated. The inner demons paused for a moment and said in surprise, "I remember that you mastered these 3 ultimate mysteries back then. Why are you still using the same 3 ultimate mysteries? Then let me see how strong you have become." Wang Feng was furious. The 3 ultimate mysteries attacked crazily. The inner demon smiled faintly, the disdain between her brows vividly displayed. Boom! A force of death and a force of destruction burst out with a roar. 2 ultimate laws instantly appeared out of thin air, and crushed down on Yi Qingyu like crushing dry weeds and smashing rotten wood. Seeing this, the 10 sovereigns quickly activated their laws and formed a barrier to isolate the battlefield. Otherwise, Mount Supreme would be razed to the ground again. At the same time, they were also looking forward to it. How strong were these 2 mysterious young men now? Ordinary people didn't know, but as the sovereigns of Mount Supreme, they knew about the inner demons. These years, the reason why they disappeared was because they went to the Central Dynasty. Even the sovereigns of the human race didn't dare to enter the central dynasty without permission, let alone the sovereigns. The two of them had been in the central dynasty for so many years, so they should be even more terrifying than before. Boom! In the blink of an eye, the 5 ultimate mysteries clashed. There was no suspense. Wang Feng's 3 ultimates were completely crushed by Yi Shiwen's attack. This was because even though he had 3 ultimate profound meanings, he only had 1 ultimate profound meaning. As for the inner demons, the 2 ultimate profound meanings were both ultimate laws. With Wang Feng's 1 supreme law and 2 ordinary laws, how could he block his 2 supreme laws? Puff! Wang Feng immediately spat out a mouthful of blood. However, his expression became more and more gloomy. Back then I was indeed no match for you. But now killing you is like killing a dog. As he laughed, a terrifying death energy surged out of Wang Feng's body like a tide. Rumble! The 18 levels of hell instantly appeared in the sky, emitting a monstrous aura. Not bad. I've already comprehended the ultimate profundity of the laws of death. The inner demons cackled. When he invaded the sky cloud realm, Wang Feng had yet to comprehend the ultimate profundity of the laws of death. It could be seen that he had grown quite quickly over the years. Kneel down and accept your death, Wang Feng sneered. The laws of time, earth and metal were activated once again. The 4 ultimate profound meanings instantly carried a destructive aura as they charged toward the inner demons. Sigh! The inner demon shook his head and sighed. His gaze suddenly turned cold as he said domineeringly, "You want me to kneel down and accept my death? Do you have the qualifications?" Rumble! His body shook. The laws of time and space emerged. In the sky, a river of stars appeared. Countless stars flickered, and each star was like a world, exuding a vast aura. This is... Wang Feng's gaze trembled. The laws of time and space, the ultimate profundity. Trash, you're still trash. The inner demons cackled. The laws of death and destruction appeared once again. The 3 ultimate profound meanings shattered the sky and charged toward Wang Feng. With a loud bang, Wang Feng's 4 ultimate profound meanings were once again crushed. Following that, the inner demon's ultimate profound meaning ruthlessly charged toward Wang Feng. Wang Feng's gaze trembled. All these years he had worked hard enough, especially when he was defeated by Qin Feiyang and the others in the Tianyun realm. He had been cultivating in seclusion, hoping that one day he would be able to wash away his shame. But unexpectedly, he was still not a match for this person. In the nick of time, Luo Dan and Lu Sheng rushed into the barrier and stood in front of Wang Feng. Numerous ultimate profound meanings appeared. Right now, both of them had also grasped 2 ultimate profound meanings. Their strength had also improved a lot. Moreover, there were also 2 ordinary laws of time and space. Adding them together, that was 8 ultimate profound meanings. People who could master 4 ultimate profound meanings, even if 2 of them were ordinary laws, were already strong enough. In the Tianyun realm, they would be giants who dominated a region. Therefore one could not underestimate these geniuses of the divine kingdom, just because Qin Feiyang and the others were powerful. It was no exaggeration to say that. Wang Feng and the other 2 were on par with giants like the Feather Emperor, the Blood Ancestor, the Dragon King, Feng Ho, and the Kirin Lord. 8 ultimate profound meanings swept out. The 3 ultimate profound meanings of the inner demon's 3 ultimate profound meanings shattered. The corner of his mouth. A stream of blood flowed out. Since you can't fight me one-on-one, you want to gang up? Alright. I'll fulfill your wish. If you're not convinced, come at me together. The inner demons glanced at the other geniuses below and laughed. Arrogant. Wait until you defeat Wang Feng, Luo Dan, and Lu Sheng first. The geniuses below sneered. Just these 3 trash? Don't joke around. Killing them is as easy as crushing an ant. The inner demons laughed wildly. Rumble! Inside his body, wisps of terrifying and despairing auras burst out from the ground. Destruction law, spacetime law, death law. After that, a time law and a karma law surged out. Boom! In just an instant, the ultimate profound meanings of the 5 ultimate profound meanings appeared in the sky. The terrifying aura shook the world. What? The ultimate profundity of the 5 supreme laws. Wang Feng and his crew, the geniuses, and the 10 martial highnesses were dumbfounded. This was too strong. Are you scared already? Trash, like you should be honored to be able to make me use 1% of my strength. The inner demon smiled coldly. As soon as he finished speaking, the law of devour roared out again. What? The ultimate profound of the 6 supreme laws. Doesn't that mean he has already grasped the will of the heavenly Tao? At this moment, all the disciples on Mount Supreme felt as if they had been struck by lightning, and their minds rumbled. The will of the heavenly Tao. This was an existence comparable to the 10 great venerables. And the will of the heavenly Tao was also the symbol of the strongest, because mastering the will of the heavenly path was equivalent to standing at the top of the pyramid of the divine kingdom. No, to an ordinary person, the will of the heavenly Tao was standing at the peak of the cultivation path. In the meantime, the hearts of the 10 martial highnesses were filled with great astonishment. They remembered that when this person appeared 1,000 years ago, he had only mastered 2 ultimate profundities of the supreme laws. How could he have comprehended 4 ultimate profundities in a mere 1,000 years? Even with the time array, he couldn't have done it. Could it be that this person was hiding his strength back then? Boom! It was another scene of destruction. In the blink of an eye, Wang Feng and his crew were all severely injured and fell to the ground. The other geniuses below still had the courage to clamor before, but after seeing the will of the heavenly Tao, they were only left with fear. I'm flattering you by calling you trash. The inner demon scanned the crowd with a look of disdain. Then he smashed the bodies of a group of geniuses with a palm, and blood dyed the sky red. Wang Feng and his crew's divine souls escaped from the barrier, and their faces were filled with fear. But the inner demons didn't look at them again. It was as if they weren't qualified for him to look at them again. He stepped in front of the barrier, and a divine light flashed from his fingertip, and the barrier was shattered on the spot. The 10 martial highnesses were stunned. What kind of technique was this? It actually broke the barrier that they set up together in an instant. Human geniuses? What a joke. The inner demon smiled contemptuously, opened a space-time tunnel, and left without looking back. Lu Jijin didn't say a word. After the battle ended, he just smiled faintly, turned around and entered the tunnel, leaving with the inner demons. So powerful. Among the younger generation of the divine kingdom, I'm afraid he's the first one to master the will of the heavenly Tao. Maybe their appearance isn't a bad thing. The great venerable whispered. What do you mean? The other 9 martial highnesses looked at him in confusion, because the 2 of them should be able to fight against people like Qin Feiyang. The great venerable's eyes flashed. Hearing this, the 9 martial highnesses couldn't help but be moved. That's right. Qin Feiyang and the others all mastered the will of the heavenly Tao. Not to mention the younger generation of the divine kingdom, even the older generation like them couldn't compete with them. Maybe the 2 mysterious young men could break this situation. The news of the inner demons coming to Mount Supreme and defeating the human race's prodigies quickly spread across the 4 continents. Any living being who learned of this was shocked to the extreme. Even the king and the divine king were shocked when they received the message from the human race's sovereign. They didn't expect it. In just 1,000 years, the 2 mysterious young men had become so powerful. The next day, God race's sacred land, God's Island. 2 figures descended on the God's Island. It was the inner demons and Lu Jijin again. With their arrival, the God's Island immediately fell into chaos. What is the meaning of this? The divine king personally appeared and asked the 2. Back then, it was the same situation. After defeating the prodigies of Mount Supreme, they came to the God's Island the next day. Lord Divine King, aren't you asking the obvious? The inner demons laughed. The divine king suppressed the anger in his heart and said, There's no need to fight anymore. The prodigies of the God race are no match for you. I didn't expect Lord Divine King to be so straightforward. However, it can be seen that the prodigies of the God race are no different from the prodigies of Mount Supreme. They're all a bunch of trash. The inner demons laughed and was about to turn and leave. Who are you calling trash? Suddenly, an angry roar sounded and a group of young men ran out. Among them were Jiang Xing and Jiang Chun. Don't mess around. The divine king's expression changed and immediately shouted. Although he was extremely unhappy with the inner demon's arrogant attitude, there was nothing he could do. No one in the younger generation of the God race could compete with them. Even if he was angry, he could only endure it. Moreover, this place was someone from the Central Dynasty. All the more he couldn't provoke them. You're tuning into the Lee May Sword of Destiny YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.